So I reached out to another friend of mine. I said, look, I need to go on vacation somewhere. Where should I go? He said, go to Africa. And not only am I going to go, I'm going to explore a new country. So I went to Tanzania, South Africa, Namibia, Mali, Senegal, Morocco, Liberia, Namibia, Kenya, the Voodoo Festival in Ouida, Gambia, Togo, Cote d'Ivoire. Sierra Leone, Ghana, Nigeria. It's been a beautiful experience, just learning more about our culture, our indigenous culture. So Uhuru means freedom in Swahili. I'm in search of my roots. In finding that, I would experience my Uhuru, which is freedom. I'm out.
Peace, family. I hope all is well. I hope you're Friday. Y'all, it's Friday already. Me and the family, we head to Nigeria on Monday, flying out of JFK, headed to Nigeria for the Oshun Festival. Listen, if you're hella sporadic and last minute, like myself, and if you want to roll to Nigeria, listen, I'll make room for you. I will make room for you. If you want to roll to Nigeria, hold on, my shirt kind of dusty here. There we go. Okay, man. If you want to roll to Nigeria with us, again, if you still want to roll to Nigeria with us, hit me up. Let me know. Go to searchforuhuru.com. I'm sorry, I'm tripping. Danfo.africa. Visit danfo.africa, DANFO.africa, and you are more than welcome to join us. We would love to have you join us in Nigeria if you want to roll with us. Also, guys, make sure you buy the documentary. Again, please make sure you buy the documentary, you guys. Go and support. For those who have bought the documentary so far, here we go. Shout out to Ayana. Thank you, Ayana. Thank you for the support. For those who have bought the documentary so far, I greatly appreciate it. It really means a lot, guys. I want everybody to go and buy, purchase, cop, support the documentary. Okay, go and support the documentary. I greatly appreciate it. Make sure you go to searchforuhuru.com. Let me put the link in the chat room and also put it up on the screen. Go to searchforuhuru.com, everybody, and buy the documentary. All right, we accept Bitcoin and Ethereum as well, as well as with your major credit cards and debit cards. So again, that was the trailer that I played at the beginning. So if you have not bought the documentary yet, please go and do that. And again, I appreciate everyone who has supported the documentary so far. Again, I appreciate everyone who has supported and bought the documentary so far. Make sure you go and buy guys, it streams on the site. It streams on the site. So once you buy it, you set up a login and password, and you're always able to access the documentary no matter the device via your login and password. And then, like I said, we're rolling to Nigeria Monday. And then if you're interested in joining us in Sierra Leone, again, if you're interested in joining us in Sierra Leone, please hit me up. Go to Danfo, DANFO .Africa. Again, please visit Danfo, DANFO .Africa. Okay, and citizenship is available to those who qualify. Citizenship is available to those who qualify in Sierra Leone. The first step is, for the most part, you got to have this, and it has to link you back to Sierra Leone, the results. That's through African ancestry, and for the most part, African ancestry only. So again, you got to have this, and it has to link you back to Sierra Leone, and you are eligible for citizenship. That's the first major step. But once you have that, for the most part, everything else is downhill. So again, make sure you visit searchforuhuru.com. Again, searchforuhuru.com and Danfo.Africa to learn more. Once again, guys, I hope all is well. Hope your day is going well. Hope your morning is going well. Wherever you're at, I just hope you're having an awesome day, evening, whatever, wherever you're at. Let's jump right into it. So listen, guys. I don't know if you guys have been following what's been going on with Brittney Griner, but Brittney Griner, she got 9 years in a penal colony in Russia. All right, 9 years. And already people are saying, or I guess, Russia, I guess, is saying they'll swap Brittney Griner for this merchant of death. His name is Victor Bout, the merchant of death. He's been trafficking arms all over the world. He even sold arms to the U.S., which is interesting. Like I said, he even sold arms to the U.S. But I'm like, I don't think that's gonna be enough. I don't think that's gonna be enough to get Brittney Griner out. I'm just keeping it real. Again, I'm just keeping it real. I feel like that's not going to be enough to get Brittney Griner out. Did anybody see the pics of Griner on Twitter? Do you think it's real? What? Put the link in the chat room. What pics? I don't know what picture. I'm not sure what picture you're referring to. But yeah, so this is the guy that everyone's saying that Russia wants back, that they're gonna give swap for Brittney Griner. I think it's gonna take more than that, if you ask me. I think it's gonna take more than that. The U.S. has a lot of sanctions. No, you might not want to see, but just go search. I'm not going to search. All right, the U.S. has sanctions on Russia, and also Russia. I mean, the U.S. Here we go. Thank you, WM. Hold on. I don't think so either. Russia gonna leverage this to the fullest. Shout out to the link in the chat room. Yeah, so I'm saying right now, America's involved in a proxy war with, as far as giving arms and money to the Ukraine. And Russia's at war with the Ukraine. So I think it might be a situation where Russia says, look, give us Zelenskyy. And what I mean by give us Zelenskyy, stop supporting this proxy war. Either or, tell Zelenskyy to leave. Meaning Zelenskyy goes on exile, they'll give him $50, $75 million, go to the US or, France or the UK, on exile because they're losing the war. Ukraine is currently losing the war against Russia. They're currently losing. And right now, all of your tax dollars that Biden is using to, fund this proxy war, it's going down the drain. It might as well be used as toilet paper because they're like I said, they're losing the war. So my thing is, if I was Russia, I'd be like, look, y'all really want Brittney back? Y'all really want her back? Because we're about to send her. And the Russians want a citizen who's currently in prison in Germany. Right. I think he was like an ex-general that murdered somebody in Germany. They want him back too. But I'd be like, look, you really want Brittney back? Election season's coming up as well here in November. You guys really want Brittney back? You sure? Because we got this nice vacation spot where we're going to send her in Serbia. Penal colony. Winters are brutal, about -5 below zero. She's going to be cracking rocks, doing all types of just crazy stuff. Do y'all really want her back? Pull out of this proxy war. Give us Zelenskyy, meaning tell him to leave. Here we go. I think Zelenskyy may disappear. Yeah, Zelensky's going to disappear. I don't see Zelenskyy. Did I say Serbia or is it Siberia? My bad. Siberia. Sorry about that. Yeah, we'll send her to this nice vacation spot in Siberia. Let her crack rocks or do whatever. 5 below zero. She on her way to the gulag. Yeah, it's not going to be good for her. So if I was Russia, I'd be like, listen, pull out of this proxy war. Stop funding the Ukraine and give us Zelenskyy. Meaning, listen, if Zelenskyy goes on exile, takes about $50 million, goes to America or the UK, make him a hero, I guess. Allow Russia to put in our puppet regime. Again, allow Russia to put in a puppet regime. The Donbass region, all the way to Odessa, will be annexed to Russia. So we'll control the Black Sea. Yeah, give us all that, then you can have Brittney Griner back. Give us all of that, and then you can have Brittney Griner back. If not, no problem. 9 years of hard labor. Oh, it's more like 35 below zero. Okay, sorry about that. Sorry. 35 below zero with that wind chill. Yeah, y'all want Brittney Griner back? Give us that. Philip Lindsay, I disagree. And Philip, I'll bring you on here shortly. No matter what. Okay, he said her basketball career. You're right. Her basketball career. Well, Philip, she was playing in Russia because of the money. But I think she was still playing here in America as well. Yeah. Victor Bout seems like a silent killer. Yeah, you definitely don't want to cross Victor Bout in the streets. No, I'm dead serious. Listen, if I were Russia, I'd be like, listen, give us Zelenskyy. If not, we'll keep, listen, if not, she'll, hopefully, here we go. This is the other options. This is the other option, because I've said this before. Say Biden says, no, we're not giving you Zelenskyy. We're not pulling out of Ukraine. We're still going to fund this proxy war. Russia says, no, we're not giving her up. The only other hope she has, again, the only other hope she has is that Donald Trump gets reelected. Again, is that Donald Trump gets reelected. Then Trump works his magic and gets her out. But if I were Trump, I wouldn't do nothing. I'm going to tell you why. I'm going to tell you why. Yeah, I doubt he'll try to get her out, but I'm going to tell you why. I wouldn't do it either. I'm going to tell you why. When Trump got A$AP Rocky out, LeAngelo Ball, who's the Haitian rapper? Guys, who's the Haitian rapper? I forgot his name. Who's the Haitian rapper? Guys, who's the Haitian rapper that he got out? Right, black voters are going to ruin it. Kodak Black. He got Kodak Black out. Black folks came with all of the conspiracy theories. Oh, he's only doing that because he wants the black vote. He don't care about black folks. He just want the black vote. That's the only reason why he's getting these people out. He don't care about black folks. Okay, fine, no problem. So black folks wouldn't appreciate it anyway. So nah. So you can X that out. If Trump gets reelected, I don't think he's going to get her out. Because black folks don't appreciate nothing. Because black folks don't appreciate it. So I don't think so. Hold on one second. Because black folks don't appreciate that. But see, this is what Zelensky's doing. This is what they're doing. They're in the middle of war. This is what they're doing right here. Hold on one second. Here we go. This is what they're doing. In the middle of war, your troops are getting blown to smithereens by Russians. And you posing for Vogue magazine. This is what Zelenskyy and them doing. Portrait of Bravery. Ukraine's First Lady, Olena Zelenskyy. Now, how is she a portrait of bravery? She ain't out there fighting. Like she's in the first lines. Like she was on the first lines fighting, the front lines. Like she's on the front lines fighting to protect the Ukraine. How is she brave? So Ukrainian troops are getting blown up and killed. But what makes her brave? Portrait of bravery. What makes her brave? So Ukrainian troops are in a lose-lose situation. They're being killed. The Ukrainian army is being decimated. Meanwhile, Zelenskyy and his wife had time to pose for Vogue. Well, look at this. Look at this. While all this is going on, they posing for Vogue. You can't make this up. You can't make this up. She posing for Vogue. They posing for Vogue. This is what they doing. Being married to a comedian who led the country to a senseless war. Right. Can't make this up. Like I said, I don't think Zelenskyy, I don't think he's going to make it through the end of the year. That's just me. I mean, look at this. You can't make this up. You can't make this up. I mean, this was in bad taste. Like, I don't know who they had. I don't know who Zelenskyy has as an advisor, but nah. Okay, she's standing in front of a down jet. You know, this looks like female soldiers in front of a down Ukrainian jet. Like, you can't make this stuff up. I mean, look at this. Down jet, got the female soldiers around her, and she posing. Yeah, so see, I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. But yeah, I would say, listen, yeah, all our tax dollars are going to Ukraine. But I would say if I were Russia, I'd be like, I want Zelenskyy. That's what I would say if I were Russia. I want Zelenskyy. If I were Russia. If I were Russia, I'd be like, I want Zelenskyy. Merchant of death, whatever, you know, that's whatever. I want Zelenskyy. That's what I would say. Guys, so it leads me into the next topic. Okay, black folks and weed. Black folks and weed culture. All right. Black folks and weed is from the earth. Weed is from the earth. You know, all my black family, oh man, we gonna start a cannabis farm and a dispensary, and you know, weed is from the earth. I'm sorry, outside of the movie Friday, and you know, Dre and his old school, you know, the Chronic and Chronic 2000, black people have been taking L's from weed. Case in point, Brittney Griner and Iman Shumpert. Let me give this disclaimer. If you smoke so much weed, even if it's for medical purposes, for your cataracts, whatever you want to call it, and if you cannot remember to remove the weed from your bag before you go to the airport, you need to stop smoking. This is the same thing with Sha'Carri Richardson. Sha'Carri Richardson got busted for weed last summer, couldn't go to the Olympics, and her career has not been the same. Black folks got to put this weed down. Ricky Williams, his career ruined by weed. His career ruined by weed. And listen, I'm not judging anybody. We all got vices. We all got our own personal demons. But this weed stuff is getting out of hand. I mean, literally. Ricky Williams, career done over weed. I played ball with some cats at the University of Georgia. Career done over weed. Sha'Carri Richardson, career is done over weed. Sha'Carri Richardson is done. I'm sorry. And the thing is, there are people who, instead of getting into her corner, who are in her corner, instead of telling her the truth, they just tell her what she wants to hear. And when she tested positive for weed, which banned her from the Olympics, y'all was making hella excuses for it. Well, you know, weed, I mean, you know, it's just a small amount of weed, and, you know, this, that, and the other, and why is weed still illegal, and this about weed, that about weed. You know, listen. You know weed is illegal. And if you cannot stop smoking, if you allow marijuana to keep you from making $1 million, you need to put the weed down. That's what I'm saying. God made weed. Weed is from the earth. That's the excuse I hear. Weed is from the earth. Sha'Carri's done. Ricky Williams ruined his career. Brittney Griner's now done. Iman Shumpert, he's been out of the league a couple years, but he's considered young. But the weed took him. He's in jail now because of weed. Y'all need to put the weed down. I'm sorry. I understand it might help with your cataracts. I understand you get a medical card to smoke weed. But by the way, black folks was talking, the last 4 or 5 years, I guess, when they start legalizing weed in some states, y'all was supposed to control the weed industry. Y'all was going to be trillionaires from weed. Man, bro, you need to get these weed stocks. Man, you need to invest in these weed stocks. Man, I'm going to open up me a dispensary. Man, I'm gonna grow that purple super duper kush. I'm gonna grow it. Yeah, man, I'm gonna smoke that super duper kush, and I'm gonna grow it, man. I thought the black community, we were supposed to be billionaires by now from when they legalized weed. That's what I was told. Between the weed stocks, dispensary, and I'm gonna start me a cannabis farm and hemp farms and that farm. I thought we should be billionaires by now. That's what I was told. Y'all need to put that shit down. I'm sorry. There's just too many L's being caught out here over weed. Put the weed down. Somebody said this new ain't weed, is K2. That's a great point, Brandon. They talk about investing and do nothing but consume. Exactly. Exactly. They're making the licenses too expensive for black people to buy laugh out loud. Man, I think maybe 5-6 years ago when they started legalizing weed, folks was telling me, the black community was telling me that they gonna take the weed industry over and just control it, and the black community is gonna be billionaires off of weed. And all I'm seeing is black people catching L's and being embarrassed, losing money, losing millions of dollars over weed. Man, y'all got to put the weed down. I'm sorry. And I know we ain't perfect. I know I'm not perfect. We all got our vices. We all got our issues. But y'all got to put the weed down, man. I'm sorry. Y'all got to put it down. If you want to find black folks in Seattle, go to the weed dispensaries. It's like that in LA. I'm talking about black folks in LA were stoned. Because I used to sell the lab jackets to the dispensaries in LA. Black folks were stoned. Standing around stoned in front of these weed dispensaries that were white and Armenian and Middle Eastern owned. Again, black folks in LA will just stand around in front of these weed dispensaries, high as hell, stoned. And these dispensaries were owned and dominated by Armenians, white folks, and Middle Eastern people. Yeah, we gotta just chalk that up. We gotta just chalk this whole weed thing up, man. We gotta just let that shit go. Excuse my language. We gotta just chalk that up. Listen, if you got anxiety, because I know people that say they smoke weed is for anxiety issues. Man, go to the gym. Just go to the gym. Go punch a punching bag. Go punch a punching bag. Go punch a punching bag, y'all. So, listen, I'm going to put the link in the chat room. If you want to call in. But before then, guys, make sure Again, if you're watching this, if you have not bought the documentary yet, listen, I need you guys to go and support and buy the documentary. Again, if you have not bought the documentary, please go to searchforuhuru.com. Again, please go to searchforuhuru.com. Our documentary.searchforuhuru.com. But we'll keep it simple. Go to searchforuhuru.com. Searchforuhuru.com and buy the documentary, family. If you have not bought the documentary, I need you to go to searchforuhuru.com and buy the documentary. Now, listen, you can smoke your weed. I'm just saying I catch more people who have caught L's from weed than who have won from weed. That's all I'm saying. More people have lost from weed than won from weed. That's all I'm saying. Hey, Pan-Africanism strikes back. I'll go. Let me do this right now. He's in Nigeria. Great cat. I'm gonna go ahead and see. Let me see the number right now while it's on my mind. Here we go. Let me send this number to Brandon real quick, guys, and then I'm gonna put the link in the chat room. So Brandon, he did this site and he did the Donfo site as well. So Brandon, let me send this to you right now. Brandon, hit him up, man. He's good people. I want to get this brother as much business as possible. So guys, listen, he's on WhatsApp, Brandon. So yeah, if you guys have not bought the documentary yet, please go and support the documentary. Again, please go and support the documentary. Go to searchforuhuru.com and buy the documentary if you have not bought the documentary yet. And also, please hit the like button. Please hit the like button. And listen, I need everybody to buy the documentary. Again, I need everyone to buy it. I don't ask you guys for much, but I want everybody to support and buy the documentary. All right, so I'm going to open up the lines. You want to call in, add to the conversation, you are more than welcome to call in and add to the conversation. Link is in the chat room right now. So go ahead and call in. And guys, once again, please go and support the documentary. Link is in the chat room, guys. Please click on the link. Again, links in the chat room. Please click on the link. And guys, if you have not hit the like button, hit the like button. Those are your action items. Hit that like button and then support the documentary. Those are your action items. Brandon, go ahead, brother. Brandon, you gotta unmute yourself. Brandon, you gotta unmute yourself.
No, I'm sorry. I had you hit a button on your phone, on your Obama phone, and it just take you to a whole new screen. I was lost in the sauce. Hey, can you hear me okay?
Loud and clear.
All right, so man, we all know that weed is worse than crack in our community. It's worse than crack. And a lot of people, when they hear that, they're gonna be like, what you mean weed is worse than crack? But the reality is weed is worse than crack because weed pretty much induces the same type of behavior that crack does. And it's normalized. So at least when you had crack, everybody was like on a mission to like get crack out of the hood for the most part. People were like, crack is bad, just say no. You know, the term crackhead became a derogatory term. It had a negative connotation. But with weed to me is just like crack, but people normalize it and they even promote it, right? And you don't see you don't see like, okay, you walk by somebody and they smell like cat piss, right? And you're like, God, this guy stinks. You'll see some freaking degenerate dude or chick be like, something smell good. When you saying something that smells like crap or cat piss smells good, you know your mind is just totally altered towards degeneracy, right? Weed makes people sit around, not want to do anything with their life, but chase weed. How are you not a crackhead when you wake up every morning and the first thing you got to do is smoke some weed? People got to smoke weed to get out of bed in the morning. Forget talking about smoking weed for medicinal qualities. You have a dependency on that because before you started smoking weed, you pop up out of bed like a daisy. Now when you smoking weed, you need weed to get like to function. And people say like, oh, well, I got anxiety. I got this, I got that. Not even realizing that a lot of that stuff is induced by the actual weed. You didn't have any of that stuff before you started smoking weed. And now when you own weed and you try to quit weed, you got all this anxiety, stress, depression, and all of that. What you're having is withdrawal. So really what they're doing is they're smoking weed to try to treat the symptoms that are caused by weed smoking. And that's the same thing a crackhead is doing. They're smoking crack to deal with the symptoms that onset once you're away from the crack for a little bit. And I mean, dude, it makes your lips extra black. You know what I'm saying? And nothing wrong with having black lips, but if they crusty too, and they ashy, and you walk around looking like Pookie off of New Jack City, they eyes be all yellow, gums all black, they breath smells like poop, and literally they're just lethargic. They don't have any energy to do anything. They start losing weight. I haven't met one person who smoke weed and don't be looking sucked up. Now, Dinus, what's the difference between that and crack? What's the difference? And it's not even like they're sucked up because the weed's sucking them up. They're sucked up because the weed ramps up their metabolism and they have to make a decision. Am I going to feed myself or go buy more weed? And 90% of the time, they opt to go buy more weed. It's like a vicious cycle that they're in, and they can't even get out of it because there's people saying, no, weed is good, weed is great, it's natural, it's this, it's that. It's like, bro, it's not about the reasons why you're smoking the weed. It's about the results of smoking weed. And then some people say, oh, this successful person or that successful person smokes weed. If you go around those people, they're not smoking weed anywhere near as much as the guy who's breaking your house so he could go buy A. And I've even seen weed make women do all types of things that you would only associate women doing who smoke crack. Guaranteed. I've seen crazy stuff, even in high school, that women would do just to get some weed, And I don't know what these men are doing, but they probably right up there the way things are going. But it's just like it's an overall net negative for our community. And there's like zero freaking programs to really address the lasting impact of weed smoke. Nobody knows how continuous weed smoke impacts the body after 50 years or 30 years because nobody's bothering to do a study. You know what I'm saying? And everyone's just saying, oh, it's good. Like, yeah, maybe weed in its natural form is not so harmful, but these dudes are spraying weed. I used to rent a piece of property to some dudes who grew weed up in Shasta County. Those dudes were doing all types of stuff to that weed because they wanted to have the most potent strain, and they weren't doing it naturally either, right? So these guys, look at, like you said, Ricky Williams, the Brittney Griner dude, all that stuff.
Did you say Brittney Griner, dude?
Well, she want to be a man. I'm gonna call her what she want to be. But look at this. It's just time and time again, man. People are losing their lives over weed, and not necessarily dying, but it's having a negative impact on their job. We not even counting the black people who are basically miss out on opportunities because of weed smoking. We don't even count them. And we'll sit up and say it's racism and everything else. You can't pass the test.
Brandon. I had a friend who was looking for a job. got him an interview at Centos. My boss came to me and said, listen, I interviewed your friend. We're going to hire him. 4 days later, they came to me and was like, Dynas, your boy, we can't give him the job. He tested positive for weed. So I called him. I'm like, dude, like, what you doing? Like, you had the job, but you lost it because you tested positive for weed. Oh man, I didn't know they was gonna test me, man. Sure, I didn't know. I tried to drink this drink, before the test, but man, I'm sorry, man.
Everybody know, Dynas, everybody on earth know that they give you a drug test before you get a job. Unless you going to work at a crack house. They even a drug test you working at a crack house. Because they want to make sure you're not using more than you smoking. But Dynas, the thing is, look in the comments. Oh, Brandon, you a little too hard on weed. You did. Bro, what do you mean? Weed is just a plant. How can a person be hard on it? That's how you know these dudes are crackheads, man. When you defended some bull crap, you might be a crackhead, dude. You might be a crack. You're too hard on weed. No, weed is not helping black people. Weed is causing black people to be stupid, lazy, and lethargic. That's what it's doing for us. And we wonder why our productivity is down. Because all our kids from the time look, I got a girl, and I know y'all tired of me talking. Bro, I have a friend, bro. Her daughter was like, yo, I want to be a lawyer. She said that in the 9th grade. I want to be a lawyer. Full-fledged, she wanted to be a lawyer. I was like, girl, I'm proud of you. I'll even give you some money for college, whatever. If you need me to buy books, I got you. You know what I'm saying? I was proud of her, right? Real cute, real beautiful girl. She was on the track team. She wants to be a lawyer, right? Then she decides she wanted to be in the military and be a JAG, right? Like a military lawyer, I think that's what it's called, right? So I was like, dang, she doing it. She's setting her bar high. She met some boy. He didn't even go to her high school. She met some boy who on internet started smoking weed, dude. All of a sudden, she come to her mom, I don't want to run track no more. I'm like, don't let her quit. But you know how women are. They act like they have no control over their offspring. Then all of a sudden, I don't want to be a lawyer no more. I don't want to go to the military no more and be a military lawyer. Now, 6 years later, 6 years later, she's like 19, or it's 5 years later, she's 19. One baby on the way. Just got a job. Just got a job at FedEx. Use some type of liquid that you use to cover up your weed use, right? And she just got a job at FedEx. Lawyer, no more talk of that. No more talk of going to the military. Had a promising track career. She was real fast. No more track. Guess what it was all due to? She met this dude. He introduced her to weed smoking. And now every day, like clockwork, she faithfully lighting up a blunt, right? And now she added the Patron to it. Go buy the little bottle of Patron, every morning. And it's just like, she'll tell you, man, weed when I start smoking weed, it just killed my motivation to do anything. She'll tell you while she's puffing on a blunt. How the hell is that a good thing? How is that a positive? How is that helping our community? You don't need it. You don't need it at all. And when they talk about they're sick, they're lying. Dude, you're a freaking crack baby, dude. You don't need anything. You don't have anxiety or anything like that, dude. You can watch a black dude die in front of your face and not feel anything. But now you got anxiety? Nah, the weed is causing the symptoms that you're trying to treat with the weed. And I'm done.
Cool. Hold on. Black Line. Go ahead, Black Line. Unmute yourself.
Oh, hey, thanks me on the panel. And honestly, Brandon was almost 100% correct. I will actually add to that. The weed culture actually is destroying the black community. You literally see it happen to the black community. Like, for example, when I was in high school, I on my bus on the way to school, like in the morning, I literally saw brothers literally light up weed literally at 7 or 8 o'clock in the morning. And this is on our way. We take the school bus or just the bus from the city to go to our high school. they will literally light up them like literally at 7, 8 in the morning. And they was like, "Hey, bro, you want one? Like, want to hit?" Like this? Like, "Oh no, I'm good, thanks." It's like, and they looked at me weird. It's like, "Wait, why not?" And I told them, like, "I don't need it. I'm good, bro. Go smoke ahead." And the problem I noticed with that is a lot of them, like Brandon said, a lot of them don't smoke the weed because they really need it. They smoke the weed because, from what I see, it's a new form of escapism from the issues that they don't want to face. It's become the new psychotherapy, a pseudo psychotherapy. And the sad part is, marijuana historically was a great herbal solution to real medical and psychological, physical and psychological issues. Like in ancient Egypt and Greece, for example, they used weed for literally emergencies only. They didn't love weed, but they respected it. And they used it in a respectful way. And they only used it for serious, rare occasions. No different than any type of form of medicine. It was given more respect for what it can do for the human body, especially for its healing properties. And they never really smoked it. They consumed it because it had the natural herbs and proteins and enzymes and healing properties that it can do for the anatomy. So marijuana historically had a great respect. The problem was that, Rastafarians from Jamaica, the problem is that thanks to music, media, and TV, especially black and white people who are acting like dumbasses like in the movies with smoking weed, it bastardizes so much, like a new form of propaganda, is damn it doesn't have the respect it used to have. Now you're looked at like Brandon said, you're the dope head, you're like the new crackhead, you're useless. And it has destroyed more black people because a lot of times used for the respectable medical reasons. I wish marijuana was only used for pharmacists or trained herbalists in the medical fields, so it can be properly restrained. But it became the new it literally became the new drug. And we advertise more psychotherapy like the way we did marijuana. The black community will definitely be a lot better position. We use it way too much. And you kind of notice, like, correct me if I'm wrong, you notice how the people who sell marijuana, like the Armenians and other ethnic groups, they're never the big consumers of weed. They never really like the people who sell weed are never the one who's the biggest consumers. It's no different than drugs. You never see the cartel or who sold real cocaine or opium and everything. They're never the consumers. They're just the sellers. And that's why when I heard the same thing when black people say, "Oh, we're going to take over the marijuana industry, this and this." How if you smoking it? How can you sell something and try to profit off and invest in if you're the one that's being the consumer smoking it? It's no different than drugs. You never smoke or sell. You never smoke or consume your merchandise. You sell it. You never touch it. And the reality is, like I agree with what you said. A lot of people we're destroying our lives and our activity. We're become more lazier, more useless, and less problem-solving people because we let marijuana become the new therapy, or we use it as an escape route because we won't deal with the real issues. Like, it should only be used for emergencies, medical emergencies only. That's it, nothing more. Like, there's plenty of other herbs or other ways you can literally heal yourself with different forms of food, different herbs from different cultures. You can literally say that can be legal. It depends on the law, but still, there are other solutions. A lot can be just as effective. The problem is with black people is we're too mentally weak, and sadly, we're pretty pathetic where we can't think of another solution. Because one thing Brandon was right about, I mean, it's coincidence because I know other people, is the fact is when we practice certain lifestyles, in form of psychology, when we practice a form of lifestyle, regardless of whether it's healthy or bad, your brain cannot recognize cannot recognize a lifestyle you want to change. So say you smoke weed for 25 years, you want to change your lifestyle. Your brain will in a way force you to go back to that lifestyle, and that's what comes with the withdrawals or the irritation and the aggression because you're trying to change the lifestyle. Your brain doesn't recognize these habits because your brain is programmed to what it was supposed to do. And you practice lifestyle for so long, you start having these irritations because you've been doing it for so long, is that your body recognizes as second nature. So this is why this is why medicine like in the pharmaceutical industry was only used for specific reasons. They have to go to a special prescription. Medicine, like stuff like this, was not to be used was likely because they understand the long-term side effects and the long-term issues of how this can affect you in the long run as a human being. Okay,
right. Let me let's pass. Go back to Africa. Go ahead and we'll pass it to Sean. Go ahead. Go back to Africa.
What's up, Prince, man? What's good with you in the panel?
What's good, bro?
Peace and love to everybody out there. Yeah, very interesting. I just had a conversation with a guy today, a young lady yesterday. And, we went into this apartment building, and every apartment building I'm looking at, getting footage and showing people what things are worth, whatever. On the street where I go, everywhere you go, you smell weed. I said, I smell weed more than anywhere, more than in America. It's decriminalized here in South Africa. I was told by one Uber driver in Cape Town that it was legal for you to grow at least 5 plants here in South Africa. But I agree with what my brother just said, and that is I've watched this marijuana that we claim is so innocent that it has destroyed many people's abilities to function freely, soberly in their mindset. I've watched people who claim that it's not addictive, can't let it go, cause them to be lazy, cause them to be complacent, cause them. My wife, like I said, is a physician. She comes home every day. At least one patient of hers who is suffering from throwing up, can't hold food because they, I forget the name of it, what she said is a medical term, that because of this use of marijuana. Everybody talking about it's the mother plant. And I hate to tell y'all, a lot of this weed right here, they are being grown to be stronger, having more THC. These people are creating it in labs to give you greater highs. It's not in its natural form. People spray things on it to get a better high for you. This marijuana, and to debunk actually this mindset, like I tell people, because they say, oh, it's natural, it's Mother Earth, this and that. So what? I mean, does it make it right? There are plants that will kill you. There are plants out here that you eat it'll kill you. Just doesn't make it so. There are plants that are hallucinating drugs. There's plants that are poisonous to the touch, poisonous eating. I mean, there are many natural forms of plants out here. Doesn't mean that you can consume it. And I see that this generation now, and we wonder why the youth in the generation are off the chain. People can't function mentally. People don't have the patience, don't have the will to control their emotions. They depend on marijuana for everything. If you want to relax, close your eyes and go to sleep. If you want to be free of your worries, deal with it on a sober mindset. You can't use it as an escape of reality. And many people think that they can function better with it. I rap better, I drive better, I have sex better. People act as though that this is that is an all to be all that takes them to their greatest point or their greatest height. And I disagree. I mean, and shameful to say, I had to try weed at the age of 50. And I'm gonna tell you, I don't see what people get out of it. I don't see the
Hey, go black. I remember I smoked, and it was so embarrassing. Last time I smoked was it was back right when I got out of college, and I went to a friend's house, and I was in Atlanta. I went to his parents. He was in town, and he's from California, high school, a friend I grew up with, childhood friend, and his mom had moved to Macon, Georgia, and I was in Atlanta, so I met him in Macon, and I smoked with him, and I got so high, and I just embarrassed everybody in the house. I'm just thinking to myself, like, what do you guys get out of this as far as being so high? Like, what do you get out of it? Like, I was just high as hell. And I'm like, what do you get out of this? Like, I was high. Like, I'm just like, what do you get out of this?
Yeah.
Well,
and I was miserable for the next like 7 hours. I was miserable, stuck in this thing that I couldn't get out of. But I was like, man, my brother, because he was like, man, you were 50 years old. What? I said, you know what? That was my life experience, because I can speak on the matter. Doesn't mean I had to try it, because there's drugs out here that you get that grab a hold of you, and that you live lifetime trying to get that monkey off your back. I was fortunate that I didn't have that, but I don't get it. But then again, as damaged as we are as a people who looks for everything as a release to heal us, to bring us to a place that we feel we can feel comfortable. I know it's not for us.
Well, sounds like most people on here have not smoked weed on a regular for an extended period of time. I can say when before I really drank coffee, my roommate drank coffee. I almost basically forced myself into drinking coffee. Coffee is just as bad. Some could even say worse over a period of time. Now I'm taking breaks of 2 months on coffee, and I'm eating food now, and I'm starting to gain weight at my age of 59, and I'm starting to, I wait to get 59 to start getting overweight. But we can use anything as a crutch, as a tool of addiction. Weed has its benefits and its faults. I think more faults than benefits, and I agree with what most people have said, except not having the experience of doing it from seventh grade all the way into finishing college. And I can say that what I liked about it was that there are periods, when you smoke weed, you go through these phases. And then there's a phase of creativity that happens when you smoke weed. And if you're a creative person, it really is good because you can go into a zone of creativity. But I mean, it comes with the, forgetfulness, with the eating, and with the, if you don't smoke for a while, you'll go through a little withdrawal. There's a little grumpiness that you get. And after you go through that little grumpy period, a few little other things, you'll come out of it after a little while. Same thing with coffee. You might get headaches. Some people get headaches or get migraines. I used to do that. I still do it a little bit. So I'm saying that, just singling out weed as the all in all, weed has its things about it. I like this young brother from Uganda told me, said the elders told him that weed is not really for young people. It's for older people when they've done all the things that they need to do. And now they're just chilling out, maybe what we would call retiring. That's when they smoke weed. When you're young, you got a lot of stuff to do. Weed ain't really necessarily the thing to do. This is what the young brother from Uganda told me. And I kind of agree with that. But definitely I pushed through with school. And I think another thing too is that if a young person's on a track of being in an environment that would be conducive for him to, be interested in school, go to school, they are going to do that. They can do that. And you can smoke weed if you kind of do it in a moderate way. It has its things to it though. But me and all my friends, we smoke weed. We didn't even drink alcohol. We would go to the club and we would order one drink. We go outside and smoke a joint and then dance it off and have fun. And, and that was our thing. We would, after school, when we were in junior high school and high school, we had this little club and we would go and buy a joint for $1 and go to the clubhouse, and we call fade each other. We would smoke, everybody buy a joint. It'd be about 6 of us. We buy a joint for $1 each, and we'd smoke all the joints up and barbecue, and, and people would go do their paper routes and, and whatever. So this is what we did when we were in junior high school. And then in high school, me and my friends, we eventually we just got tired of it. I mean, we were like, okay, we've done we done this. What else is there? We didn't go to alcohol. We didn't misabuse and use that. So I don't smoke today. And if I did, in closing, if I did smoke, it would be, I take 1 hit of a joint, and that would be enough to get me high, because I know at a low tolerance, I could take 1 hit. But I'm saying we look at it in relation to, it's not just weed. It's anything that we could substance abuse, sugar.
Exactly.
But Sean, let me add, but this is the thing, Sean. For some reason, when it comes to the weed conversation, here comes the, coffee bad, sugar bad. Like, we know that. Like, I've never had, like if we did a show right now how sugar's bad, I don't think there'd be too many people calling in and saying, well, man, and trying to defend sugar on the rate that Black folks defend weed. It's just the weirdest thing ever. Like, Black folks will defend weed to the death. Like, we know sugar in coffee is not good for you. We know pretty much anything that is not in moderation is not good for you. Like, we know that. But when it comes to the weed conversation, folks are gonna defend weed to the death. I don't
And you
get it.
can't compare the two. You can't
Very
compare the two.
Yeah, you can. Well, coffee, especially. I'm telling
Nicotine
you.
and THC is something totally different. You don't get you don't get high off in a coffee, drinking coffee.
Yeah,
You can get addicted to anything. Yes,
I'm
I
high right
agree
now
with
on
you on
coffee.
that. But my thing is that, well, your nicotine is totally different than a high of THC. I mean, I
You
don't
mean
care. You ask
coffee?
anybody and compare the two.
You mean caffeine?
With the weed that I tried and all that right there, you can't tell me that's the same. You getting high off of nicotine, or you get your nerves of rattling for the nicotine versus marijuana. To me, you can't even compare the two.
Well,
You
no,
really
I'm
can't.
saying caffeine. No, you get. I'm high right now on
I
caffeine.
mean caffeine. Excuse me. I said nicotine.
Yeah, I'm high right now on caffeine, and caffeine has, probably double the damage on my teeth. My teeth are messed up. It pushes all of. I know, I'm serious. It pushes all the water out of you. It's a diuretic, so you have to drink water. It stimulates your nervous system, and over time, it's not good for your heart because it kind of races your heart a little bit. So caffeine is a hot ass mess, and it's legal.
I've
We don't
never
talk
seen
about it.
anybody who lost a career behind drinking coffee. These guys who can't even let weed go. Whether it's my nephews and them, these guys were NFL bound and couldn't let it go, get kicked out of college. What was it, Ricky Williams, who let NFL go because of his weed? These guys.
I mean, and that's the thing. Go back to Africa. You bring up a great point, because when I was at the University of Georgia, there were cats getting. So if you got tested positive for weed one time, you got suspended for a game. 2 times, it was half the season. 3 times, you done. Like, we had cats that got kicked off the team, lost millions of dollars, and we
Same
still
as
got
the-
folks. And we still got folks defending this stuff. You got Sha'Carri Richardson. And we have folks, well, weed is, it should be legalized. Listen, if this white man comes to you and says, I have $1 million for you, but if you smoke weed, because they know you can't smoke weed, it's illegal, but you can't smoke weed or you're going to lose everything. We got folks still smoking weed, losing millions of dollars. It don't matter if it's how you view it, if it's from the earth.
That's fantastic.
And the majority in corporate America, for the most part, it's illegal. So you're going to have to make a decision. You can get high all day if you want to, but you're going to lose the bag. And we got folks who are so addicted to it, they continue to lose the bag. And then we got black folks who want to make up excuses and defend, them making a poor decision and losing the bag. Sha'Carri Richardson is one of them. Ricky
Same as
Williams
the
is another.
military.
Okay.
That's the point I don't understand.
Right, that's
like, you got $1 million. You're a millionaire. Change your life, change your family's life. Don't put the weed down.
That's right. That's right.
Self-destruction. Afraid of success. People do that all the time.
It's like when I was at a previous podcast, it became the new therapy. It literally became the new replacement therapy. And like, even in the military, you be discharged if you're caught with weed, not a cigarette, not coffee, weed, not because weed is bad, it's because it stumps you in your mental and physical dysfunctions. That, like, you can't think properly, like you can't, like, because you're going to war. If you're an army man, you can't concentrate, you can't shoot a gun, you can't be a physical combat or espionage. No, that's why cigarettes are more allowed. Even though cigarettes are bad for you, are no worse than weed. But the fact doesn't affect you like the way marijuana does. That's why I said previously, it was like marijuana was respected. It wasn't loved. It was respected because of what the healing properties it can do. But it was only used for serious occasions only. That's it. You never heard historically the way your Egyptians or Greeks people from other cultures, ancient civilizations, they sold weed like off the club. No. Only professionally trained doctors and healers were only allowed to get access to it, because the thing is, you can literally because the people in that field understand the full knowledge of it, the good and the bad, and they understand for certain things. it has strict rules. That's why it was more respected, and that's why
You're absolutely right.
Hey, well, let's do it. Let's pass it to Pan African capitalist because he's been wet. Go ahead, Pan African capitalist.
Stay off the weed, man. Shout out to Stephen A. You know, I think that look, man. I think we're all adults. We have the opportunity to choose what type of drugs that we want to ingest in our system. You know, weed in moderation, like anything else. You know, if it works for you, it works for you. I think it's good for people that are more like artist types. You know, drugs and a lot of, if you research a lot of artists, man, some of the greatest artists in the world, a lot of those people did all types of drugs, alcohol to help them be creative.
Right, and listen, end up ODing in hotel rooms by themselves.
Yeah.
I mean,
that's
listen,
part of.
Let's go down. Let's go down a list of the black ones. One of the greatest artists of all time.
Miles Davis. Miles Davis.
OD. You know, I mean, I guess.
Miles Davis had a huge drug addiction. I mean, almost some of the greatest artists, whatever genre you could think about, music, painting, they all struggle with addiction, but it, it's like I say, in moderation, it's a gift and a curse. Like, I come from a sales background like you, Dynast. I know a lot of those, Caucasian brothers that used all type of drugs in the sales business, cocaine, marijuana, and stuff like that. It worked for them. It's like, yeah, they had issues and addictions and stuff, but it helped them to cope. And that's what that's the problem in our community now, is people are using this to self-medicate themselves, right? They're using this to deal with the daily ills of their lives. You know what I'm saying? So they going through stuff in life, and that's what they're using it for. And that's where the big problem come in. I don't smoke weed. I have before. But, it really does have a lot of issues. Like, you see people being a little bit lazy. I don't remember ever seeing a person that was a weed head that was sharp, on point, and that was fully functional. They always was a little bit off in their processing of things, in my opinion. And it was always like super, super laid back. So yeah, I don't support it. But like I said, we all adults. If that's what you want to do, if it worked for you, hey, go for it. But just don't be one of these people that is ruining, like you said earlier, the guys that was becoming millionaires because they couldn't cut the weed habit. The Ricky Williams. You just seen Iman Shumpert just got arrested for weed in the airport. You know what I'm saying? So with that, I'll just go ahead and pass the mic over to the elder sister.
Mm-hmm. Missy Bada, go ahead. You gotta unmute yourself.
So, how are you? I hope everyone is doing well. So, I don't know us as Black folk. We do too much. So, take a look at this. That same weed, right? I was reading a book. I forgot the name of the book. I think it's Ivory and Rose or something like that. The book was it was written by a white guy, and one of the things, as you're beginning to read the book, maybe in the middle of the book, it was talking about how it got to a point during slavery, in order to tamp black men's anger, that the slave master started giving them weed to use, marijuana, right? What has changed? The same weed was also the U.S. military, the U.S. Navy. During those times, the U.S. Navy were taking those weed to Chinese and get them all addicted. I ask you guys a question. If it was so good, and if it was all right, why were they using it? If it was that natural, that it doesn't have any negative effect, why were they using it to tamp down black men and black people? They were giving them drugs, right? You see, you have to start realizing that these people did a lot of shady things to us. They did. And now, fast forward, they were using black people. You have to pick this game. They brought weed to black neighborhood to destroy the neighborhood because they knew the effect. They already did the research. They already knew the effect. Why are we always make excuses for bad behavior, right? At some point, yes, the reason black people have to use drugs is because at the end of all this trauma and seeing your own people being killed all the time does something to you. It alters your state of mind. And in order for black people to survive, that they have to start using some form of chemical. What should have done? What should have happened? Again, I'm saying it just for Africa, but also for Black American, is to start a group, an organization that can heal the people. The people have to heal first. But you see, they are not going to allow you to heal, because if you heal, then you will know who you are. But if you stay in trauma, you don't get to know, right? So what do? They keep introducing the more degenerate behavior, right? The more, so they will keep, so the more you accept weed as part of you, right? So you're going to have to get addicted to it, right? If you go to any liquor store on Friday evening, you will see a line of, I'm talking about Maryland, right? You will see a line of black people with Mercedes lining up to get alcohol. I'm not talking about the brother on the street. I'm talking about your hard-working government workers lining up to pick up. When are we going to say this? Something about these things is not just right. Our nature, this is not the way it's supposed to be. To the extent, you see, black people are becoming the majority of people going to the hospital for minor things. High blood pressure, right? Kidney disease. How can you be the original man? How is it that your kidney is the most wanted? Your liver is the most wanted.
What's the answer, though?
You say what?
What's the answer? So you're hitting on all the points, but what is the answer?
Listen, the answer, the only thing that I'm going to tell everybody is you're gonna have to kick the habit straight up, cold turkey, and we need to start finding doctors, people that we can talk to, people that look at us, that look like us, that we can talk to. You can't talk to the same people that traumatize you, right? It's not gonna work. You're gonna have to get together in groups of men and women and start having conversation about what happened to you in this country to heal, right? Because this last few days we were talking about black people in this country to start married to Africa. That may not do anything, but if families have to talk, right? You see, you don't know how much trauma you have that goes on in your system until you start voicing things out that have been done to you, right? For example, one day I was watching a video. No, I will tell you an incident that happened at my job. So there was an incident that happened at my job. I used to work at an hospital, and a young black male, it must have been like maybe 18 to 25, I couldn't tell precisely. He was rushed to the hospital, a gunshot to it. I have never seen that much blood in my entire life. The operating room was bloody. And you can tell that this young man is not ready to go anywhere. I'm telling you that I can feel him. I can feel that. But when I look at the operating table, right, I noticed that the operating table was laying down. When we started to open it up, it was already broken. They were so careless that they just treat that brother anyhow, right? What I'm telling you, that trauma can get somebody. When I got home that day, I started dreaming. I started thinking about that brother for the rest of the weekend. Things like that can get people to start drinking and start using drugs. But you're gonna have to be able to deal that when you see your own people being killed like this, being traumatized on a daily basis, we have to find other means other than using drugs. That's what I'm telling you. So, you see, look at how many black men, how many people in jail as a result. Look at what we're supporting, right? There are black people in jail right now since the mid-80s that they're still there over very little drugs. When they start legalizing this marijuana, they refuse to talk about, okay, how about now this thing is no longer illegal? Why not release everybody that's still in prison? This police officer can still stop you based on them smelling marijuana on you. They're still killing black people based on drugs. If marijuana is legal, why were they arresting those men? Why? It's already legal. What's the point? Right? We're going to have to get away and stop destroying ourselves. In this way, you can't blame a white man for this one, because we already know how they get down. I mean, black people, these are people that poison water. What is it that we don't get? They put fluoride in your water. Fluoride kills brain cell, makes you docile, kills sperm count, affect your productive health. Take a look at this. Between them destroying your water that you keep drinking, between them poisoning the weed, right, you keep eating. Most of us have talked about how the food is messed up. Look at the amount of damage you are even causing to yourself. You don't need to be a scientist. You just need to know what they do and then learn from that. You have fluoride in your toothpaste. All these things is destructive to your system. Now they turn you black people into body parts that anytime they just go ahead and pick up your body part. Is that what you're good for? Can we not change something? In order for all of us to start working together, we need to get off weed. We need to stop drinking. We need to stop smoking. You are the one that's making America great again by smoking weed, by doing all manner of degenerative, and more than worst of it all, cutting off your private part, both men and women. You are the one that's making America great again, and it's not in a good way.
All right, Black Beauty, go ahead. Go ahead, Black Beauty.
Hi, Dynast. How are you?
I'm fine, Jackie. How are you doing?
Good. So I figured I would come on here as the person who smokes weed on an almost daily basis since I was 13 years old, and I wanted to speak a little bit about it. And I think one of the main points that I want to make, and I think it piggybacks off of what Miss Ibarra said, was that there is definitely a lot of trauma in the community. But what I will say is I'm not really sure where you guys live, but in America, there's quite a bit to get into. So my thing is this: every other community has their vices. They have the things that they do to calm themselves down and relax and take a moment. But it seems that in our community, the minute that we grab something that says, hey, we want to relax, we want to take a moment, it's always an issue. And I think that is not the way that we should go about addressing weed, considering that it did come from us. It's not something that the white man came up with. It's something they took and they genetically altered and manipulated. So I want to just make that point as well. I also want to say for myself, and I'll only speak for my own self, you know me well. I'm a fierce competitor. I'm a go-getter. I am a program director, been in corporate finance for 13 years, singer, songwriter, and producer, went to LaGuardia High School. I weigh 158 pounds, in amazing shape, work out 6 times a week. And to be honest with you, I'm a whole G out here. So if I didn't smoke, I think most people would consider me a man out here. And I'm just being honest. I smoke. Why do I smoke? Why does Jackie smoke? I smoke because my temper is on 10. You know this, you've met me. So at the end of the day, it is what it is. And people can say and do whatever they please and whatever they want to do in their lives. I'm not the police to tell people whether they should be smoking, whether they should be drinking, or whether they should be eating sweet potato and candy yams every week. I'm not the person to speak down on people and what they choose to do. But I know one thing: aside from weed, there are quite a few other things in our community that are eating up our people and their health and their ability to get things done. Person like me, weed has not gotten in the way of anything I've done. I'm very successful. I put my pedal to the metal every day. I grind every day. I'm living between 2 continents. One of the few people on your channel who actually repatriated. And so to me, when I hear these weed conversations, it's not to say that I don't disagree. I do disagree with the whole situation with Brittney Griner, because for me, I'm a person who can say, hey, listen, if there's no weed in that area, then I don't take it. I've traveled everywhere. There are plenty of places, especially in the Middle East, where you cannot bring weed. It is highly illegal. Places like Palestine, Pakistan, there are quite a few places where you can't go with weed. So that's understandable. But my thing is, when it comes down to our community, there are quite a few other issues we need to address, like Hennessy every Friday night. I don't drink. You know this about me. I don't drink spirits, because what I was young is that spirits bring spirits into your life. So I don't drink spirits. I drink wine and I smoke weed. It is what it is. Next.
Lumumba, go ahead, Lumumba.
Yeah, I appreciate being back. Appreciate everyone who's on the channel. So I think there's a couple of things we can address when we talk about this conversation of weed culture in the Black community. And this would be a rebuttal to a little point to Sister Black Beauty. I think one thing we have to understand is that the exception doesn't change the rule. You may be able to be high functioning and smoke weed every day, but unfortunately, the majority of people, irrespective of their race or ethnic background, tend not to, right? I saw someone put in the chat, they talked about how they've seen numerous brothers and sisters who were in the military get dishonorably discharged because of what? Smoking weed, so on and so forth. I, as someone who unfortunately served in the slave master's military, I saw this up close and personal. And then, of course, you have that in your DD 214. And of course, it can affect your ability to have gainful and meaningful employment moving forward. So I think there's a couple of issues to look at. I will say this, and I am a parent, and so I do understand that a lot of people of all racial ethnic backgrounds have a litany of issues that we have to face here in the modern society and in the world. However, what I argue is that anytime you're looking outside of yourself to solve your problems or ease tensions, I find that as particularly problematic behavior, right? And I even make that argument when I talk about even religion, right? People say, well, you look to God. And I say, well, I don't think that's healthy. I think that actually promotes a bit of impotence to look outside yourself when you have a problem. So for me personally, what I communicate to my children, anytime you're going outside of yourself for any substance of any kind, unless it's medical in nature, right? I find that as problematic. So that's just for me. The other issue is what we have found. And I think Brother Dynast mentioned this in his opening when he segued from the conversation about the Ugandan, not Ugandan, but the Ukrainian first lady, and then you kind of segue to the conversation about weed. Is you see all these individuals, high profile positions, high earning positions, losing it all because of they could not stop smoking weed, right? And I think that's a question, and that to me comes off as an addiction, right? It's just like if someone says, hey, we're going to pay you $2 million to do this job. However, you have to control your drinking, and they are unable to do so. That's a problem, right? So I can understand, Sister Black Beauty, that you are someone who's able to be high functioning and you smoke weed, so on and so forth.
But can I also?
I think for most, the exception doesn't change the rule. And for most,
I also want to
who, if I could finish, and then with my soliloquy, and I will let you continue. But for most people who are engaged in these type of behaviors, they tend to be racially disempowering, self-defeating, and of course, self-destructive. I am someone, when I was younger, I smoked weed for maybe a year. And I remember I just stopped like cold turkey. And my brother asked me why. This when I was like 19. And I said, well, one, I found that it was a waste of money. I was wasting money. Then I said, the second issue is that I'm unemployed. I'm trying to get a job. And I said, guess what happens? I have to take a drug test, and then I drop hot on my drug test. So I said, I'm actually hustling backwards. I said, this is idiotic. And I stopped smoking weed cold turkey, and I never did it again. This is back when I was like 19, 20 years old. So I think these are some of the questions we have to ask. If it's weed, if it's Hennessy, whatever, are the behaviors that we are engaging in on a almost religious nature level, are they benefiting us not only individually, but as a community as a whole?
Yeah. But guess what? Do you know there are other plants that those that are smoking weed, or even any of us that, you say what?
So it's Miss Ibarra. I want to say something.
Go ahead.
So I understand what you said, because when I was watching that live where you mentioned that, and it's so funny that you mentioned that, because I do have a few of those plants. I drink moringa tea every day.
That's right.
I also drink Cordencio Negro as well. I'm a person who has a chronic illness, and I drink tea to help my pancreas. So I'm a person who believes in all of those things that you said. There are definitely herbs that get you more, that light you up more than smoking weed. So that's the truth. But what I will say is, on top of that, and I know I saw somebody in the comments mention a couple things about people of quality and weed. I'm going to tell you that one of my best friends here, a director at Assets Bank, he smokes every day. Another gentleman that I know here who owns the gym in the Skyfit gym inside the Oriental Hotel, he smokes every single day. I will also let you know that the majority of the people that hired me smoke every day. I'll also let you know that I've drug tested and tested positive for marijuana and still receive jobs. So maybe I am an exception, or maybe it's just that high level, high thinking people that have a lot on their plate tend to need something to help them relax. So if you're not going to do cocaine,
hold on, 1 second, Blabby. So true story. So when I was at the University of Georgia, there was a weed problem. We had a couple guys who got suspended for weed, and so they called a team meeting. And so his name is Brian Van Gorder. He was our defensive coordinator. He called a team meeting. Everybody comes to the room. He starts getting this spiel. Why you guys doing this? Why y'all partying Thursday night knowing we got a game Saturday? And then he said this: you will never reach your potential high. Those were exact words. You will never reach your potential high. So maybe the people that smoke every day, maybe try going maybe 6 months to a year.
Sinus, I don't think it's like that. You're a person, you're a gym dude. You understand that. You know that there are plenty of people that go home and they smoke after they press weights, after they press,
I'm not saying they don't, but how about try not doing it for a year and see what happens?
You know what? And that's a good point. I've actually gone 2 years. I've gone 2 years without smoking. When I was going on to my Goldman Sachs project, I went 7 months so I could test negatively for THC without smoking before I went up to the Goldman Sachs project I was on for a year. So I understand what you're saying, but it's a choice is what I'm saying. In this community, there is a lot of trauma. We're not going to act like there isn't. And so what you're telling me is, you're telling me that I should be sitting here. You're telling me I should be sitting here fuming mad every day that I have to work for the white man 10 hours a day, come home and be upset every day. If I want to smoke to relax myself, it's no different from that white partner who drinks whiskey every night. It is no different.
Can I tell the sister something?
Let me say this, Mama. So here's the issue, right? When you get into
everyone smokes weed here, so don't even get on the Africa thing. This whole Lagos smokes weed.
That's the issue. That's still a problem. That's a problem.
Let me say this, Mama. Let me say this. So I work in higher education, right? So it's a white-dominated industry with a litany of issues. What I'm going to say is this: when you get to certain, in corporate America, one of the stereotypes is that there's a lot of white men who live, just say, on the edge, right? So one of the things we hear about white men in corporate America, sales, stock market, they snort lines, they do cocaine, and they go to work, they put in 12 hours, 14 hours, and they're making $200,000, $300,000, $400,000, $500,000 a year, if not $1 million. Just because people are able to do that doesn't mean that the behaviors to be promoted, praised, and or replicated, right? You have individuals who live life on the edge. You have individuals in corporate America who they go around sexually assaulting women, laughing about it, making jokes, and doing home videos with their buddies. It doesn't mean that the behavior should be promoted, praised, and or replicated. Now, what I would say is this: I understand some people may not like the fact that they're working a job for the slave master. What I would argue, and I'm not a psychologist or a psychiatrist, but if a person can't deal with the vicissitudes of life without turning to some type of substance that gets them some type of high or drunk, I think that in itself is a problem.
I think a point that should be made as well is that during your formative years, had I not smoked during junior high and high school, I would have been better off, and college too. So I think that during your formative years, when you're developing your work studies and your mind and all of the discipline around, you know, because education is crucial for us as a people. We have to really engage the educational process, and we need to really focus in on that, you know, as a separate issue in terms of our own education that will be beneficial to us as a people in our community. So that whole thing needs to be said. Once you've gotten, you know, you've gotten a role going, and you've reached a certain level, even maybe if you're in college and you decide that you want to, start smoking or doing something, you have already achieved a certain level of life and goals, you know, in terms of things that will set a foundation for you to have a decent life with, you know, being in college and getting the degree. So I'm saying that, and you've had some discipline. So I'm saying that you at Black Beauty, you know, I would say, yeah, if that's, you know, your personality, you've got a role going, you've got your thing established, and you smoke weed, it helps to kind of mellow you out and do the things you needed to do for you. That's great. But these younger people, they need to, you know, be about studying and school and sports and whatever's going to keep them busy and active and positive, doing community projects. And I don't think weed is really beneficial, even though I did it. And I was able, with me, all of my friends, we all went to college. So we did this thing, and we, you know, can say from experience that, yeah, we would have done better. We said that to each other. We would have did better, you know, had we not smoked weed.
Guess this.
Well, let me ask you this, but let me ask you this one question. So for me, like, I love sugar. So if when I was doing sales, I was having a bad sales day, I would go get ice cream. I'll eat like a pint of ice cream, some brownies, some cookies. Like, I would go to Kroger or Publix, and I would get like the little 12 pack of cookies and smash all of it. But if somebody did a show basically saying, hey, sugar is bad for you, like, I'm not gonna call and be like, oh man, it helps my anxiety, and I had a bad day at work, and I had to eat, you know, the chocolate, the cookie dough, ice cream. You know, it helped me calm down. But for some reason, when it comes to weed, I don't know. It's just people for some reason get upset and triggered when you call it out and say, "Hey, this is what's going on." You know, it's I know too many people who have taken L's from it. You have a lot of people who call in, or people in the chat room who get upset by it. Like, I mean, why is that?
And I think part of it is people feel like they're personally being attacked. Like, I think that's one issue, right? People, whenever it's almost like if you know, we all know that the thing that people say about, hey, you're in church and you feel like the pastor's talking directly to you, right? They may be critiquing a particular behavior, and what happens, the person feels like they're talking about them as an individual. The other issue here, I think, what we're really talking about is coping mechanisms. That there are negative and there are positive coping mechanisms that people have in practice. And I always advocate people practicing positive coping mechanisms, such as reading, exercise, yoga, doing Tai Chi, doing something in a manner in which you're not seeking something outside of yourself to calm you or pleasure you or give you that sense of euphoria or serenity that you want to see.
Hold on, I want to say, sorry, let me go. I work out 6 times a week. I do weights 5 times a week. I do Pilates 3 times a week. So when you talk about people that work out and use their body,
sister,
majority of those people's fault.
Sister,
so I would say that I'm someone I work out with, and the people I work out with, I'm unaware of them smoking weed. I'm unaware of them doing drugs of any kind.
I say, I'm gonna challenge our community because I think my internet is going slow because I don't have much internet right now. I'm gonna challenge our community to not abuse every single thing they touch, and I think that's the real issue. The issue is we can't just sit down and smoke one blunt and chill. We can't just have one glass of whiskey. It always has to be a thing where we're engorging ourselves, whether it's food, whether it's weed. I don't smoke all day, every day. I smoke in the morning, smoke at night.
Right.
So if people have to engorge themselves with food every day, if people have to engorge themselves with weed every day, if people have to engorge themselves with alcohol every day, that's more of an issue that we should be addressing in our community because people have a lack of control in our community, a lack of discipline in our community. So that's really what the issue is. It has nothing to really do with these substances. People can enjoy what they want every now and then, even if they want to have a little drink on the daily basis. But to be throwing back 4 and 5 shots of whiskey at night, to be smoking 6 and 7 blunts a day, to be eating 5 plates of food a day. That's the real issue in our community. We don't have a barometer. We don't have a stop point for everything in our community. That includes sex too, because people have sex addictions that are running rampant in our community.
Yes. But you know what else worked for me is African spirituality. This is crucial. What she's saying, because what I didn't mention, and I realized later as I'm listening to you guys, is that after I got involved in African spirituality, it heightened my senses to my in tune to my balance, to my disposition, all of those things. And the more I got into it and the deeper I got into it, the more that if I start doing stuff like, I don't smoke weed anymore. I don't drink, but I had started having a glass of wine every evening. And I had a friend that would come over who lived in Philadelphia, and he worked all the way in the city. He needed a place to stay a couple of nights just to, kind of help him out. So I let him stay. And he would drink wine when he would get off work. The few days he would stay. And so I started drinking wine. Man, I'm telling you, it was just a little glass of wine that over time, it some things happened that I realized, like, whoa, I can't even do that. And that's just because of me making those spiritual ties and commitments that, is. So I'm saying that those type of things where we are able to clear, because my thing is, if you can do something and allow yourself to clear the cobwebs before you do it again, if it's drink on the weekend, then you're, by the next weekend, you have not done anything and your head is clear. Those are ways that you can kind of engage in stuff that deals with mind altering, and it fogs your stuff.
Okay, so can I say something to the sister before I make this statement? So, first of all, what they will never tell you is each of our organs represent a particular color in our body. Each of our organ is extremely important. From your kidney to your liver, you see, polluting it with other things will only prolong our agony. I will suggest right off the back, if many of you, if you can Google an elder by the name of Wayne Chandler, he has a class that he does, or if you want to be trained for it, it's called Shingon. Go ahead get into that type of exercise to heal your mind, and you can actually heal any part of your organ that has some issue, right? I've only started doing Qigong since May. I can tell you it's absolutely by far any form of exercise that Black people needs to do. If you bench pressing, if you're doing weightlifting, and you are doing all other things, and you still feel the need to drink, then the issue is not your outside, your external beauty or your external body. It is the inside. You're gonna have to heal from inside out. So when the sister was talking about her nerves or not being with the enemy, listen, I will suggest there is a plant called RUE, Ruhu. The purpose of that plant is to calm you down, right, and reduce your fear. It is very spiritual. It is it's not addictive. RUE. If you Google it, it will tell you. You'll be able to get the benefit of what that plant does.
The Spanish use that a lot. Ruhu.
RUE.
Okay.
In the face of fear, we have been blessed as a people that so many things are out here. And I will suggest, in order to get all this shit away from our body, start looking for fresh sage, boil it and drink it, lemongrass, the actual lemon. Listen, if it grows from the ground and it is edible, it is good for you. For example, purple onions. If you start blending purple onions to drink, it's going to be very spicy, but it goes from your brain down and deep cleans you.
I eat purple onions raw. I eat purple onions raw on a
This thing, you should be doing stuff like this without seasoning. You understand? At times, I don't, and there is another thing you can use. It's called vervain. VERVAIN, right? Stuff like this, those are very powerful plants. But because of the name that they are ascribed to those plants, because of their English name, we don't look at it, you know. Don't forget your chamomile tea, your lavender, your various other plants. They are them. Your lavender plant.
Lavender, yeah.
Remember, you as a Black person, wow, within yourself, you have power, right? That's why we're saying that watch what you say. Take those plants and pray into them what you wish from that plant. Boil it and drink it. I promise you, you will heal. And as you start doing your meditation, within your meditation, start saying what you want for your body. Wherever you think you are having problems, you're gonna have to face your demon. I'm not calling you a demon, none of us got it, right? But something, if our issue is fear, remember the reason why we can't face any of this system is because we are scared and scared to death.
Mm-hmm.
We're gonna have to start looking for various plants to take. You don't need to drink. I promise you.
You can bathe in it as well.
You don't. Yes, your sage. Your sage. You can boil it, put it in a bucket, say what you want, and take a bath. Your lemongrass, you can bathe in it.
When I was growing up, my grandmother. When I was growing up, my grandmother, and I still do this sometimes, but I haven't been able to find, which has been very difficult in Lagos to get the kind of herbs that I want. But my grandmother has been, since I was a kid, we used to go to the African market on Fordham Road, and we used to wash our hair with different plants and things.
That's it.
We wash our hair with.
That's it.
How I was raised.
But guess what? Also, that will help you calm your nerves, right? Every morning, before you go to bed at night, grab yourself, make your own oil, and start with your head. Massage right here, oh, your temple, and then breathe in, breathe out, your entire body, massage it. Because what happens is, because we are magnets, right? We are literally like an X-ray. We absorb everything. But if you don't know how to drop those things, shed it. You have to shed it. You see, when you go to the gym, when you are there, you're still absorbing other people into your system, right? But if you don't know, right? I'm sure so many times you have come across people that their spirit is so wrong that you start misbehaving after they left, right? I've been around people like that, but what I've always done is to go ahead and quickly, whenever I feel, when I'm not feeling so good, that I'm feeling itchy or some kind of way, I'll go to a corner, a private corner, sit there and start practicing breathing exercise. I start massaging my temple. Massage your stomach. Your entire body have to heal at the same time. I promise you. The reason why we are having children with so many issues is because we ourselves are not healthy. It doesn't matter what you weigh, my sister. Even if you weigh 1 pound, if your inner being is not healthy, forget about it.
I'm pretty healthy, Ma. Like I will say, everything you're saying, these are true. Like I use lemongrass oil. I think everything goes together. I think it's a regimen that goes together.
Do you know what you have to do? Look at this game. Look at this game. Look at this. Look at how these people get us mixed up, right? What is so wrong in you? This is what I do for myself. I got up so early in the morning. I haven't massaged myself in a long time. But I do other things. So I got in the morning, I massage, right? I used to do just the massage alone, nothing else. Do you know if you can do a deep tissue massage? I'm talking about, you see, wherever you have that pain, pay attention and go down and really massage. Get under your foot. You see under your foot right here?
My man
Massage.
That's why massage.
Forget about it. I'm not talking about money. I want you to do it yourself with your own hands.
Well, I like it. I
Right?
like the pressure because he has strong hands on the lower back and on the feet. So
But
that's
guess
nice
what?
for me. That's one of the
Guess what? Guess this. Your man can do it. That's not the question. I'm talking about for your hand recognize you. For your hand recognize everything. For you to heal, because if you're gonna heal, you say it in your with this hand, I will heal myself, right? I didn't say with this hand, your husband or your boyfriend will heal you, right? I'm saying
Yes.
with your own hand. You heal yourself. You, the black woman and the black man, has the energy and the power to do all that yourself. It's gonna take a minute.
Hey, let me pass it to Michonne. Go ahead, Michonne.
Yes, I was listening to Black Beauty, and I want to say I went to LaGuardia myself. In New York City, 2 million people. New York City, 2 million people suffer with high blood pressure. I have suffered with high blood pressure too, but I'm saying that because I want to highlight the deception of success. And I know you was talking about your accolades and what you do and how you get through it. So all those signs is a red flag, is that something's not right. But it's not only with you, Black Beauty, it's with millions of other people. So that means that we are doing jobs, trying to get jobs, trying to survive in an atmosphere that's pure evil. And to the point where it's self-inflicting, and most of us are in denial. So in these various industries, our bodies, and we I'm going to tell, I worship or study or practice African Christianity, which is a difference. And that has helped me. So even if you bathe, whether you smoke, if you're not right on the inside, none of that is not going to really take an impact, like she says, on those spirits. Because some of those spirits with some of us, I'm not saying all of us, is inside us and around us. And so the system also recognizes that. And that's why they're promoting the marijuana smoking. Because I'm like, look at all these successful people that are addicted. And it just start now. Even way back then, successful musicians, singers, overdose in drugs, actors overdosing, considered successful with high income, are overdosing. And now the suicides are going up, and now the domestic violence on killing each other and our loved ones in our homes is going up. So something else is wrong here. So there's something, God is trying to get our attention. There's something that we have to do and change immediately. And I know some people say, well, let's leave America. But even in Africa, there's some of the same things that's going on too. So we really got to take a look and figure out and ask God, who created the heavens and earth, what to do to escape that. Because they're going to capitalize. They're going to capitalize on drug addiction. Oh yeah, this going to make you. Yeah, we shouldn't be anxious and anxiety. And there's a lot of stuff that's being done to us. See, the whole system is so corrupt that it's going to affect us, and it's not going to stop until we do something about the system, dismantle it, because it's going to be death after death from generation to generation. And that's what I see myself.
Right. If I could, and I'll do respect, sister, I'm gonna push back a little bit. I don't believe that there's a religious or spiritual panacea. For example, I'm an atheist, right? So I don't believe that any of the issues that we find, not only in America, but throughout the world, can be solved by divine intervention. The other issue is, you stated pure evil. We could have a back and forth about that, but I'm not going to. But I think that oftentimes what we find when we talk about, particularly in the African American community, issues of what? High blood pressure, diabetes, hypertension. These issues come due to what? An improper diet, and unhealthy lifestyles. I don't believe that has too much to do with the society that we live in. If you're eating unhealthy food, if you don't exercise, if you're eating what we call soul food every day on a regular basis, you're going to have these type of issues. The other issue is, I think some of this is rooted in the rhetoric, right? Some of us, we could give an ideological or cultural rhetoric. Some could give us a religious rhetoric, but it comes down to helping people gain the actual skills to have positive coping mechanisms. For example, I have a son and a daughter. My son is 15, my daughter is 12. And we have conversations where I say, okay, we're going to practice today overcoming adversity. This is the situation that you may deal with in actual life when you become an adult. We're going to set the scene. How do you respond? How do we react? And then we walk through these type of issues. I think part of the problem is that we don't actually do this with many of our young people. We don't say, okay, when you get into the world, these are the type of issues you're going to be up against. Brother Dynast can speak to this. I can speak to this as a former athlete, that when you're on a practice field, you say, hey, the team you're going up against, they're going to run this type of formation. They're going to run this play from this formation. So we're going to practice and have you experience this so that when it happens in the game, you know what to do. But I think this is very important, because the reality of the situation is we have a lot of high functioning people who have addictions, right? But at the end of the day, and this is just my opinion, irrespective of any type of religious or spiritual practice that you have, if you do not have the coping mechanisms or skills to solve a problem, you are going to continue to have a quagmire. And I'm going to say that one more time. You can have whatever religious or spiritual practice that you want to have. And I'm going to even give a more colorful example. I can practice African spirituality. I can practice Yoruba. I could practice voodoo. I could practice Santeria, Rastafari. I can even practice Amat. That isn't going to help me beat Michael Jordan in a game of one-on-one in 1991. You have to actually, at some point in life, have to have the skill set to be able to efficaciously overcome the issues that you are facing.
If I may say, first of all, let me say this. What I've learned from the elders in my academia, in my education, is that, and this is nothing, I'm not casting any negativity on you, my brother Lumumba, but from a scientific point of view, if you're talking about Africanness, we acknowledge, we understand, we observe that there is spirit. You don't have to agree with that. This is just my view. This is an African world view.
That is true. In an African worldview, there is no concept of an atheist or an agnostic. You are 1000% correct.
Okay, and so that there is spirit. You can call it force. You can call it energy. You can call it energy. You can call it whatever you want to call it. In science, we can say energy never dies. It only changes, exactly. Right? So we could say that that's spirit. We could say that's force. We could say that's chi or ashe or whatever you want to call it. But the point is that as a people, I think it's important that in getting back to our basics, that we begin to look at what our ancestors did that was good. And I think that they did a lot of good things, because all the sciences that we know, the basis of science and literature and government and politics comes out of Africa. Mm-hmm. And we have been writing on that. So if we created that and did that, then we were doing something, and we use those things today. So denying spirit means that I think it's a degradation in terms of being how did Frantz Fanon say? I don't know. Basically, what that's he said is, say that again.
I said that's right, because and even if you listen to Dr. Wesley Francis, right, many of the things that she was saying, I mean, it's not as if we don't. Yes, Chris Wesley. So many of these people, if you start studying them, they are really going back to the most basics of how do we, not just to survive, because we have been surviving, but to actually live a full life. Mm-hmm. How do you live a full life among those that hate you so much?
Right. And if I could just offer a retort to what Brother Shah said, and I hope I'm pronouncing your name correctly. My Pan-Africanism really comes from that of Carlos Cooks, who was the ideological son of Marcus Garvey. And of course, he was a Pan-African nationalist, but he was also an atheist as well, right? But the issue, and the reason why I really push back against the religion and the spirituality is because you can have all those things, but if you don't have a skill set to actually know how to solve problems when you face them, it does you no good. And I understand this is part of our traditional African worldview and ethos. However, if you don't know how to properly interview for a job, I give you an example. I remember when I was 12.
No, you're right. You're right. You don't even need to go down that line because one doesn't exclude the other. In fact, our culture and our tradition has and I'm going to go over to Shock on this. He did recently talked about we have a system of mastery and apprenticeship. So in learning how to be an apprentice, in the areas of literature, I'm going to go sit with Toni Morrison. I'm going to learn from her, and I'm going to have gone through school and done all the things, but I'm going to master. I'm going to sit with a master. I'm going to sit with Miles Davis or John Coltrane and study with them after I've done the basics. So I'm saying that goes without saying. We're the people that built pyramids. What are you talking about?
It's just that for me.
Yeah. But God was in the picture, though. Even though we were the builders, God was definitely in the picture.
Yeah, but we had to develop the skill set and the sciences to do those things. That goes without saying.
That's not something that can be substantiated. And that's one of the points I make, that when we bring up religion or spirituality, everyone has a particular belief, but these aren't things that could be substantiated. But something that can be substantiated, something that is concrete, in my opinion, is having actual skills. I remember there was a video I saw of a pastor from Zambia who was at Bishop T.D. Jakes' church, the Potter's House, and he talked about how after colonialism, the brothers and sisters in Zambia sold one of the mines for a relatively small amount of money, and the Europeans came in and made a very large amount of money off of the diamond mines in Zambia. And he talked about how there was the same situation took place in a similar manner in South Korea. That these people were traditionally non-Christian, however, they were able to benefit. Right. And we know there's a number of variables there, gun, boat, diplomacy, so on and so forth. But they talked about they knew they had the economic know-how and wherewithal to properly benefit from the resources of their land. And however, our brothers and sisters on the continent in Zambia did not know how, even though they were Holy Ghost filled and fire baptized. So what I'm saying is, at the end of the day, it comes down to knowing how to address and solve certain problems.
Right.
Irrespective if you have a spiritual religious belief or not.
But spirituality doesn't.
You don't have to know how to believe in God. You just don't.
Spirituality does not.
That's all I'm saying.
Spirituality does not take the place of learning skill sets or learning different things in society that makes your society beneficial. No one has ever argued that spirituality takes the place of learning how to be a good.
I was just say this. Typically in the Black community, that is the argument that takes place. That this is the prerequisite. This takes precedent, and nothing is more important.
And that's the problem with the spirituality in the Black community today. Is the spirituality that was given to us by Europeans who took our spirituality and de-spiritualized it or Europeanized it, and this is what they fed back to us. But even the Africans that were first brought here. That spirituality was much more African in its base, and even still, that retentions of those still remain in the church today in the United States. But I'm saying that that spirituality is not the old school nitty gritty what we found in Nile Valley, culture.
Can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
Can you define spirituality for me?
Spirituality is being in tune with nature. It is sort of modeling your culture, your society, things that you've done, that you do in your society, modeling it, and also sort of being in tune with your surroundings and with each other, as with humans and with your surroundings, nature.
Okay.
That's
so I'm going to say this, and then I'm going to shut up, because I think Brother Dynast wants to come back in. So I asked that question because typically when you ask someone the question of what spirituality is, in my anecdotal lived experience, you get one or two things. One, you get a sort of incoherent definition or answer, or you ask 3 people, you ask 10 people, you ask 20 people, you get 20 different definitions that's typically based on their own religious value system. So if you talk to a Christian, they would tell you spirituality is what? Having a intimate personal connection with God. If you talk to a Muslim, it's serving the will of God. You talk to someone, so on and so forth. And that's why I push back against it, because it's not something that could be substantiated, because everyone has a definition that's based on their own frame of reference or perspective. What I argue, if there was to be a definition of spirituality, it would be someone living their life in connection with their highest values and beliefs.
Brother, but actually, will you not? Oh, you may not agree. Just because you don't agree doesn't mean that God does not exist, right? I'm
an atheist, so I don't believe that there is.
Take a look at this. Take a look at this. I am a Muslim. Not only that, am I a Muslim? I'm not just a Muslim. I am one that I can go way, all the way, right? That my generation on both sides are Muslims. But by the time you get to my mother's side, they are also Ifas, right? Because they are kingmakers, right? So on my father's side as well. In my father's side, they are kings, but on my mother's side, they don't become king or queen. They are kingmakers, right? So which means they are Ifa practitioner, but they are also Muslims. Because you can link when the Yorubas start breaking the Ifa down, they literally break it down to where it link up with Islam. So when people always say that Muslim is something that was brought on, what happened during the Arab time or during the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam time was they refined Islam into how you do 5 times daily practitioner. But I'm saying that not only am I a Muslim, I'm practicing spirituality where I'm in tune with nature, right?
Yeah,
right.
This is what is known as synchronism.
So let me tell you, I can tell you right now, I can have like a thought can cross my mind. Like if I close my eyes, I can see a particular individual in my image as I'm talking to you, and I will stay outside that or within an hour, and I will see somebody that looks like the image I just saw right now. The longer you start practicing meditation, you start getting into being in tune with yourself. You are lining up with nature. You are lining up with the universe, right? So you need to be where you are one.
I know that this is a belief.
You want to be one.
To not believe in this. I believe.
No. I'm not forcing you to believe in Islam as a religion.
I just believe that.
But I'm saying
these
that
things were true, colonialism would have never happened. White people wouldn't have been able to come over to the African continent and conquer us if we were so in tune with nature and practicing our own spirituality. They gave us the power and the ability to create this theoretical force field to keep people from doing us harm. I don't believe in spiritualism. In my opinion, I have more common sense than that. No disrespect.
That argument is not consistent if we were to unravel it. But go ahead.
That would be taking it to a different level. Now, I wanted to ask you, when you woke up and you inhaled the air and you looked at the sun and you looked at the sky and the moon, who set that there?
I have no care or concern.
You have no, but that's how do you exist now? It's a source that's feeding you.
You asked me a question and I'm going to answer.
Yes. Okay.
You asked me, how did the air get here? How did the sun get here? Right. According to science, it was what they call a Big Bang theory, right? What I'm saying is those issues are not a concern to me. They never have been and they never will be. I focus on how can we as African people, restore ourselves to our traditional greatness in a manner that is pragmatic and actually not, what's the term I want to use? Not symbolic, but substantial.
But you can't do it without the source.
Actually, yes, you.
Hold up. Does oxygen?
That is your.
You cannot survive without oxygen, can you? No, you cannot.
Yes, you cannot survive without oxygen, but you can survive without believing in God.
Here's an example of the practicality
of 2 different things
of practicing Ifa. For example, we're talking about our head now. So if I'm kind of out of sorts in my head, I'm meditating, I'm doing these things, but every now and then I smoke a little weed or I drink a little bit. And then, I'm not overdoing it, but I just, I'm feeling a little out of sorts. What I would do is I go into my shrine and I throw and ask, do I need to make what's going on with me first, to see what's going on. And when I do this geomancy process, which is a scientific process, it's geomancy. I'm asking these questions and I get an answer. The answer is going to tell me what's going on with my, disposition. And then I'm going to look at that and I'm going to say, okay, what do I need to do? Do I need to do this for that? Do I need to do this for my ori, for my head? Mm-hmm. And it says, yes, you need to do so. I go and get these things, put them together, make the offering for my head. The next day, I'm feeling better. I'm kind of getting clear. Things are showing me that everything is good. So this is a practical use of.
And that is the same practice and belief that's practiced by Christians when they pray to God or pray to Jesus. And Jesus will tell them what's wrong with them and they will be able to solve the problem. This is no different.
It's not the same.
Okay, but in Christianity, one of the beliefs is without faith, listen, faith without works is dead. So what you're saying also, trial and error, and works, we got to put in the works. That I agree to, because you got to put in the works, right?
You seem angry.
Somebody has to work the vision. Somebody has to create, huh?
You seem angry.
No, I'm not angry.
This is your regular.
I'm just trying to put my point across. I can talk relaxed. It says, hold up. It sounds like I'm yelling. Okay, let me tone it down. Forgive me. I was trying to get my point across. Works, you got to put in the works. I heard you say that in your conversation. Learning the skills, putting the skills forward. Yes, you need skills. We need all of it. But there's still an issue. We got to figure out the stronghold. You said your concern is about the Black community and their success or failure or all of the above, right? So there's still.
I will clear that up. I stated that my concern in my lifetime is to help restore Black people to our traditional greatness in a manner that is substantial and not symbolic.
And I'm on the same page. So most of us are on the same page. We probably have different beliefs, but it will come out to be close to the same thing. But the acknowledgement is there's still an issue. There's still a strong hold on us as a people that's preventing us from being the great that we were called to be.
And we're talking about using different tools in order to achieve this greatness. And I'm saying that if Christianity is a tool, for lack of better words, if it's a practice you can do that will help you to be able to not be addictive, not have addictive behavior. If going to church and listening to the preacher give a good sermon about some morals or some ethics, some values, and that helps to keep you on a good, in a straight and narrow, in a sense, and fight off addictions with sugar and weed and crack, then it works. If practicing the stuff that I had just mentioned helps you to see what's going on, you can see what's going on in the future. You can see what happened behind you with the stuff that we do. If that helps you and it works, then it helps. These are tools that help us to reach that greatness, I'm saying.
Well,
but the Bible also says if you don't work, you don't eat.
Right.
And so is everybody eating as a community? No. So when I was listening to Black Beauty and she was talking about the work she has to put in and Dinus, working in corporations, if you don't work, you don't eat. That's pressure. That's aggravation. That's anxious. That's anxiety. I've been there. And if you don't make those numbers or those quotas, you are out of a job or you are under suspension. And it's always like this for years. It has not changed. So sometimes you're forced to do things that you know deep inside that you're not supposed to do. And so that's the system we are all in, everywhere, and especially in this country. So how many organizations, how many institutions, how many colleges, and I don't even want to get in on the colleges and the alma maters and what you're really taught, which goes against the grains of nature. See, we can really go there because that's where a lot of our problems, systemic problems, is coming from. And we have to battle it in order to be great, because they don't want the great folks in there constantly trying to kill them off or send them up. But it's still not going to work. So we still have to come to some type of agreement conclusion. Let's get down to what it really is. Why are babies getting shots when they're coming out the wombs and getting so many of them? It's unbelievable, but nobody's fighting against it. Nobody's saying anything about it, because eventually these children become teenagers and they become adults, and it stays with us, and it does affect us.
Well, I would push back vehemently against that. One of the things that we do know is that children in America have one of the lowest infant mortality rates than anywhere in the world because of the access to preventative medical care. Right. I have a great friend of mine. We actually grew up together. We've known each other since we were 8 years old. He's a medical doctor. He's actually the head of internal medicine at the Northwestern University Hospital on the near north side of Chicago. And there is and he's the actual medical doctor. There is no truth in that receiving vaccines as a child will do some type of harm to Black children as they get older. That's just something that's
there is proof. There is documentary. There is a film documentary, and I can attest to it because I know what it did to one of my children. When God told me, don't give that child that shot. Oh, yes, it did at the 1 year old. It took her back. Hold on. But listen, excuse me, embalming fluid is in one of the children's shots. Do you know that? Embalming fluid is what they put in dead people. So do you think embalming fluid would be helpful to a baby? I don't think so. That's only one ingredient. That's all. So it doesn't matter if, to me and to a lot of us, it doesn't matter if it's a doctor with a degree, 360 degree, Mason degree, all types of degree, PhD. I mean, it doesn't matter at that point.
Well,
because hold up, because yes.
So now we're not.
I would say that the way that you're getting information, spiritual insight. I was just listening to one of my teachers. Is the old way. What we would say is the old way, and that is before the really old way, before these systems of divination and spiritual practice that we do. That is about 10,000 years old.
Let me tell you, I know someone who's never had a shot in their life. He has excelled tremendously. He's never gotten sick, but the Hasidic Jewish community, they don't believe in that. They don't get shot, sweetheart, at all.
I'm aware of that, and I don't care what Hasidic.
Okay, so but it's pushed on our children in our community. Though the nurses would tell you, "Oh, give them the shot." Now, no one's following up on these children, or even myself when I was a child. We have certain immunizations, and I do see where the setback falls in as a human being getting this injection in my body and how it changes your body, because there is a problem with even our children and our women and men having birth, conceiving. There's a multiplicity of problems.
But here's the argument Lumumba makes, is that we should have the skill set to be able to create our own drugs or even monitor the drugs that Europeans are making for us to take, not knowing what's in it. Even in Africa, we don't have that capacity really. And so you're talking about skill set. Those are types of skill sets that we need to be having so that we don't have to, because how would we're talking about giving vaccines and that all of the treachery and machinations that Europeans have done to us, and we trust their medical.
Well, and here's the other issue that I want to make, right? When we talk about spiritual insight for medical decisions, there was a time in many African cultures that having twins was seen as sinful. And that if you had twins, that one was allowed to live and one was allowed to die. Not to mention, if you go back into that time frame, the life expectancy was probably half of what it is today for Black people. So so some of these things have to be reasonable, right? Now, this is what I always tell people about vaccines. And people say, don't have your child vaccinated, even though we're kind of getting off into the weeds a little bit because we were talking about marijuana. But I tell people, if there was an actual issue to where if your Black child gets the vaccination, it's going to cause medical issues, One, my brother and sister and myself would have had some type of medical issues. My children would have medical issues, so some type of developmental issues or some type of disability. So what I'm saying is that these things were true, it would be consistent across the board. Just like when people said we're getting vaccinated will cause a child to become, what's that term? It starts with an A.
Autistic.
Autistic. That is something that is it's been proven false. Matter of fact, the person who even wrote the paper and made the claim was a white guy who falsified his actual research because he was trying to get published.
But the point is trusting them. How can
it's not about trusting them.
Hey guys, let's take a quick commercial break. Everyone, if you're as you are watching, while you're watching this, guys, make sure you get the documentary. Go to searchforuhuru.com. Again, please go to searchforuhuru.com and buy the documentary. If you have not bought the documentary yet, guys, please go and buy the documentary. Please visit searchforuhuru.com. Again, searchforuhuru.com and buy the documentary. If you have not bought it, I would greatly appreciate it. Please support your brother and buy the documentary at searchforuhuru.com. Some of the reviews are in. People are enjoying the documentary, and those who have bought it already, I greatly appreciate it. And we take crypto. We take Bitcoin and Ethereum. And somebody paid the other day with Bitcoin, and I appreciate that. Again, we take crypto. So again, go to searchforuhuru.com and buy the documentary. Let me do this. Let me pass it to Moochie T. Go ahead, Moochie.
All right, thanks, Dennis. Okay, so Dennis, a few things, all right, that I want to speak on. First, addiction of any kind is bad, right? So, I mean, there's plenty of addictions out there. So I would argue even if you're eating meat every day, that's a kind of addiction, and that's terrible for your health. Whether that's worse than smoking weed every day, I don't know. I've never smoked, right? But I want to say something. In Zimbabwe, we have a tribe called the Tonga tribe. They're in the region called Binga, right? Weed is actually part of their culture, and they smoke it every day like people would smoke cigarettes, okay? They've used it for hundreds of years when they were communicating with the ancestors, all right? Weed as it is illegal in the constitution, but the police, they don't go to that region arresting people, anything like that. And there are no stoners from that region, okay? They use it just as any other plant, all right? Another thing I want to say also is that I've been to South America. If you go to regions like Peru, Colombia, they are very mountainous, right? They do take the coca leaf, which is the base for cocaine, but they take that almost every day. Why? Because of altitude sickness. All right, altitude sickness, motion sickness. They use that, but they are not addicted. There's no record of addictions in those places. But it's only when these foreigners come in and they start producing cocaine, this and that, right? So some of these things, it's not as simple as just say, oh, weed is terrible. This is what we've been told, but their cultures and people have used these plants and don't abuse them, right? And then the other thing I want to talk about
Moochie, you just made a great point. Don't abuse them. Don't abuse them.
Exactly. No, abuse, like I said, abuse is bad. Because and then I think, for example, we're talking about in the US, 60% of obesity rate in African American women, and in men maybe around 40%. These are official statistics, right? That is an epidemic that is far worse than what we're speaking about right now. We probably should have a show about food, and I mean, how not to abuse food. I've never been sick. I've never been to the hospital. All right. But why? Part of it is luck. Part of it is because I make eating healthy a priority. Right. I don't use sugar. I don't use refined sugar. I don't use salt. I only use salt when I go to the restaurant. I eat food that is already has for salt. Right. So I don't think weed per se is such a big problem that it's people not. I agree with other sister who was saying I don't agree with using it every day, but I think people can still be functional using the weed, but just not abusing it, right? So that's what I think for now. Okay, the last thing I want to say too, when we had COVID, right, hundreds of thousands of people died in the US. The reason why most people died comorbidity factors, right? I'm not a doctor, but the reason why most people die is because they were overweight. Okay, they were overweight. A lot of African American men, they die young. Why? Because of cardiovascular diseases, right? Because they're taking a lot of sugar, a lot of salt, drinking a lot. So let's not make people.
Oh yeah, pre-existing health issues, absolutely.
This is a health issue, just like a wheat is a health issue too, right? And it's not even. I mean, people don't actually get sick from, I believe, from smoking weed, right? Cigarettes are even worse than the smoking weed. I don't smoke. I've never smoked a cigarette in my life. But I'm just trying to say, let's put everything in context, right? Let's not like over exaggerate things. Right?
Mochi, let me ask you a question. Did you listen to the entire show or did you come in late?
I can't. The entire story of what? I know I didn't listen to the war story.
Yeah. So we put it in context.
So, okay, still, but I've still been listening for a while. But the thing, the thing I want to say is this. Like, there's a sister was talking about discipline and all that, right? I think this is a crucial issue. What I find, there's something that I find about us Black people. A lot of times when we adopt something, we always want to put it on steroids, right? We always want to do the most, okay? So if we drink, we want to drink more than everybody else. If we smoke, we want to smoke more than everybody else. Right, so that's something more than just weed. That's something almost like a mental health issue, right? Because because if you start talking about addiction, that's all. This is related to the mind, to the brain, right? Like why somebody feels the need to be dependent on something, right? We're talking about dependence, right? And our people are dependent on a lot. We had a guy in the NFL right now. We're talking about a guy in the NFL who was supposed to be making $12 million a year, right? But he gambled on a game, an NFL game. He put a bet for like $2,000, and he's just gotten suspended for 1 year, losing $12 million of annual income.
We're talking about society.
You saw that, right?
Our way of life and what we do and why we don't, and it all. This is a bigger issue that we can look at. The whole situation that we're in as a people. We look at it. There's a certain amount of stress that we have because of systemic racism throughout the world, wherever African people are.
It's known as racial battle fatigue.
Yeah, I mean, and that's the way I understand that, Lumumba, is when you're out in the field and you're trying to do things and do programs in your community, and you get tired of getting hit upside the head and not getting your funding for your nonprofit or dealing with all of these things, you get tired, which is I am, and you get racial battle fatigue, and that to me, that's racial battle fatigue. When you are out there trying to change and make change and do positive things, and you're hit upside the head.
The actual sum of racial battle fatigue is just the vicissitudes, the lived experiences, the vicissitudes of Blackness in the Western world lead to racial battle fatigue. So you don't have to be someone who's trying to do something positive. Just the fact that you're Black in America, you're going to experience what? Institutional racism, structural racism, racism, healthcare, miseducation, just the actual amalgamation of the Black experience in America and all the issues that you're facing causes you to experience racial battle fatigue. So, but it doesn't necessarily be that you're trying to do things in your community. Just living in America, you will experience racial battle fatigue. But I wanted to respond to Muti, and I almost read you back on what we were talking about before, the great commercial amirdynast. When we talked about she had a spiritual insight to not have a child get a vaccine. And the reason why I felt that was problematic, we know when COVID first hit, that you had people going around on social media, Black people, FBAs, ADOS, stating what? That, well, because we have melanin in our skin, we can't get COVID.
Oh my God, man, listen, because we're melanated, we're protected.
Yeah,
listen, my behind was in the hospital.
Right. And then guess what happened? What we found was what? Medical science stated what? That many African Americans will have a higher likelihood of having not only catching COVID, but actually dying from it because of pre-existing medical health issues. So there's a reason why healthcare is such a major issue. There's a reason why people are willing to risk their lives to come to America to have their child be born because of the access to preventative medical care. Am I aware of the issues with the healthcare system in America? Absolutely. There's no way I could be a conscientious Black person and be on this platform and not be aware of that. But I have enough sense to know that this is not dichotomous. I know that my mother, when I was 20 years old, her appendix ruptured. She had emergency surgery. And if it wasn't for that emergency surgery and saying, well, I'm not going to this white people's hospital, my mother would have passed away over 20 years ago instead of still being here today. So some of this needs to be common sense. And, what I hate, and what I abhor, what I truly abhor is people who have no background in medical care and being a medical or health professional giving their opinions on medical and health issues.
Well, there are other systems of medicine.
There
are other systems of health.
No. Let me respond quickly. Let me respond quickly to Lumumba, please.
I didn't take the vaccine. Let me say this. Can I respond to Lumumba? Muchi, let me say this. I didn't take the vaccine. I consulted my Ifa. Should I take the vaccine? My Orisha told me, do not take it. I consulted another Babalao who told me, his Ifa told him, do not take it. So I sent $300 to Nigeria because I don't have the Orisha of disease and smallpox. I don't have that. This young brother had it in Nigeria, and I sent him $300 so he could make the sacrifice for me. He made the sacrifice for me about 3 months after it broke out. And knock on wood, I have been good. And so I'm saying there are other ways to deal with health.
What was the reason that was you not to take the vaccine?
Lumumba, can I
let him answer that question though? What was the reason that was given not to take the vaccine? Because you had a lot of people running around saying, "Don't take the vaccine, don't take the vaccine." What was the reason?
So in the Odu that came, the sign that came would have been the reason I didn't go down that line of questioning, because I could have gone down that line of questioning. Because I'm in it so much, I didn't do that. And other things, I will go down the line. I'll go down the line till I find out exactly why. In this case, I did not go down the line of questioning to ask why. I just adhered to the advice.
Because
all right, okay, Lumumba, let me speak. I want to direct something to you, Lumumba. Wait a second, Lumumba. I want to say something to you, okay?
Hold on,
one thing, brother. Okay, wait, Lumumba, let me speak. Can you give me a chance, Lumumba? Please, okay? I want to say something, Lumumba. As well-meaning as you might be, okay? I want to tell you something, brother. We don't live in a perfect world, okay? So why do I say that? Because this idea of trying to think we can convince 100% of the population to quit weed cold turkey, it almost sounds.
I never said that.
Wait, let me continue, brother. You respond. Let me continue, okay? Because I've heard a few of you guys, including you, kind of saying cold take or this and that. Okay, because the thing is this. Let's investigate why are some of the people feeling the need to have to smoke continuous. They are responding to some kind of stimuli. People are depressed. People either they're having economic issues, they're having marital problems. So there is a whole range of other things just beyond.
We discussed those earlier.
But let me finish.
I'm an advocate of people going to therapy.
But yeah. So like I said, I think.
And then Kay, can we give Monta a chance? Monta.
Yeah, go ahead, Monta. Monta, and then we pass it to Kay, because Kay's been patient.
I'm here.
Go ahead, Monta.
Can you guys hear me?
Yeah, we hear you.
Okay.
Yes.
Hey, Dynast, thanks very much for letting me in today. Finally, I'm in here. I appreciate what you do. Like I wrote you before, and I'm very proud of you and continue to do what you're doing. And I will say this, Dynast, believe it or not, you're making an impact. So don't worry about if somebody is telling you that or not, but just believe it because. And,
thank you, brother. I appreciate it. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay. So I've been listening all since the beginning, and I'm gonna say something really quick about food. Food is good. Food is bad. Too much food is bad. But when it comes to us as Black people, like somebody was saying just now, we tend to take something and do too much of it when we take it. Whether we take it from each other or whether we take it from somebody else. Once we learn that thing, we tend to do too much of it. So everything in life is about balance. You got to have a balance. Even if food is good, but if you eat too much of that food, you know what is going to happen next. You might start throwing up from your nose or from your mouth, or something else might happen. You might get sick from that food as well, even though you think it's a good food. So it's all about balance. Balance is very important. Now, the second thing I'm going to talk about, Dan, is when it comes to I hear Professor Lumumba and the lady going back and forth about beliefs, Christianity, and stuff like that, which is very interesting. The book that I'm currently reading right now is the latest book that come up by Howard French, Born in Blackness. Okay? In this book, in the chapter that talks about Congo and religion, you know, I used to look Congo and I see that when it comes to the Roman Catholic Church, they have a firm grip on Congo, but I never understood why. I was like, the Congolese, they are so in depth, the way they dress, like, is so unbelievable. So I never knew why. So I read the chapter last week and I'm still there. I'm not done yet, but it says something about how, and that's why we African people, we got to be careful. When we learn something from people, we got to really be careful because, and like I said again, when we take something, we tend to take more and do more than the people that we're learning from. And sometimes they end up harm us. And during slavery, this is one of the reasons why those elites, there was another program you did too, those elites sold our people, okay? But here's what one of the Europeans that went to Congo, when he observed about King Alfonso at that time, he said when he reported back to the king of Portugal, King Manuel, listen to what he said, Ines. He said his devotion to Christianity is such that he seems to me not to be a man, but rather an angel that God has sent to this kingdom so as to convert it. Because I can relate to your highness that he himself, that is King Alfonso himself, knows more about the prophet and the gospel of our Lord Jesus Christ and all of his lives and all of the life of the saints and all the rites of the Holy Mother Church than we do ourselves, and teaches us about them. He said, he speaks so well and correctly that it seems to me that it is always the Holy Spirit who speaks through him, because my Lord, he does nothing other than study, and many times he falls asleep on top of his books. And he often forgets to eat or drink because he is so lost in speaking of things of our Lord. So the Portuguese present this to King Alfonso. He took it so hard, he forgot about everything else. So now this man is reporting about how the way our people took something from these people, but they in their simplicity, they become complacent, and these things was used as a weapon to get our people. So that's why when Professor Lumumba is going back and forth, and I have read so many books about atheism and stuff like that, and it's so interesting. We have a habit, based on my observation, since I started reading books about African people history. We have a problem. We don't know how to balance things out. When we take something, we take too much. We take 100% and want to go for more percentage too, to grab everything. Whether it's come to food, whether it's come to Christianity, and at the end of the day, it backfires on us, and everything turns against us. And that's my observation.
John Henry Clark said, "We are the believers of believers. We out Pope the Pope. We out Muhammad.
Yes,
we are the true believers." I mean, the good thing about that is that we have true, real faith, and we have that real, belief in things. Like the Caribbean people, they really believe in what they believe in. The real Christians, the old school Christians, really believe in what they're doing. That's important for whatever it is that you're doing spiritually, and it has good things about it. But in our situation, it's
well. Here's another thing. At that time in Congo, with their spirituality, they had a cross. A cross. There was a symbol that people used to hang on themselves. It's like the cross, like we're using the cross today instead of the pen ink. But they had a cross. So when the Portuguese came, they used to have a cross. So when King Alfonso saw that cross on those people, oh my God, he lost his mind. He was like, oh, look at that. They have what we have. So that means it might be correct about everything. He grabbed everything and then what he did as well, he imposed it on his people. Say, listen, you got to study this. We got to build schools, and these schools have to be. You got to study hard, do hard work and study. So while the Portuguese were exploiting him and his people, he was busy studying, not even able to eat, not even able to. So I mean, he took too much of it, and he overdosed himself, and then it leads to
So what's
everything
the
that
lesson
is
in that, though? What's the lesson
But
in that?
I think I can answer
balance,
that question.
balance, and be careful when somebody presents something to you. You got to make sure you be careful.
I think it goes even further than just balance. I think it also comes down to the fact that this is what tends to happen when a person doesn't have a stable, firm grasp of who they are.
Thank you.
Right, so it goes down to deeper than this balance. It goes down to really identity.
What?
You have a firm, healthy concept and structure of who you are as a person.
Yeah,
that's called being taken and indoctrinated.
One of the things that we find,
Alfonso was indoctrinated.
I know that, but let me finish. One of the things that we find, even with other racial ethnic groups who take on what we could call European or colonial religious practices, they still tend to have a firm concept of who they are as a person based on a racial ethnic background.
But we do it.
Unfortunately, as African people who are living in the middle of the Ma'afa, the African Holocaust of colonialism, imperialism, and slavery. This is one of the major issues that when we talk about our master teachers have focused on is what the disruption of the African identity, right? And that wherever we are in the world, we tend to find people who have an unhealthy concept of what it means to be Black, Africana, or African throughout the world. And this contributes to us engaging in what? Overwhelmingly in racially disempowering, self-defeating, and self-destructive behavior.
That took a major effort and a long period of time to get to where it is today.
Exactly.
I would say this, one of the solutions, and I'm actually writing a book chapter, this is an innocent plug on critical theory, the Black Power, African-American education for liberation. Look at it. I got to turn it in by September 30th, right? But one of the things I talk about is we actually find with the late great Dr. Carter G. Woodson, right? Second African-American to receive a PhD from Harvard University, created the Association for the Study of African-American Life and History, also known as ASALH. If you're not a member, please become a member. Wrote his seminal book in 1933, Miseducation of the Negro. One of the things that he talks about is that he found that this practice of people hating themselves and being disenchanted with the educational process was taking place globally because everywhere he went, because many people may be unaware that he was a missionary in the Philippines. And that the Filipino children were being taught about these white people who conquered them, and it made them be uninterested in the educational process. When he went and learned from the locals about the history of the Filipino people, these children were actually Rhodes scholars.
But
so
do you
the
think
solution, even though this issue may have progressed over centuries, the solution could be actually solved in one generation.
Right, but do you think that Carter G. Woodson was mainly talking about the college educated folks, the Clarence Thomases and the
no. He was talking about the masses of Black people. Matter of fact, if you ever get a chance to read this book, I don't know if you have, but I
have.
Yes.
I don't even remember it. I read it so long ago.
Yeah, but I knew you did because you're a learned man. But
yes,
on the first page of the first chapter, which is entitled the first chapter is entitled "The Seat of Our Trouble." It states that the problem for the so-called Negro, African Americans, is that when we go to school, he said, even in mixed schools, white schools, or even Black schools, we are taught to praise and worship and admire everyone else and despise ourselves. He states this in the first paragraph on page 1 of chapter 1, that is the problem. And so with my children, they don't have those issues. Very quick story, my daughter who's 12 years old, I have her reading a book about Betty Shabazz. It's entitled Betty Before X. So it gives a life story of Betty Shabazz before she met Malcolm X. There's a part in the book, there's a chapter in the book, she just read a chapter a night to me, where Betty Shabazz talks about growing up and experiencing self-hatred, where she used to look at the white women in the magazines and want to, lighten her skin and straighten her hair, so on and so forth. And so I asked my daughter every chapter, we talk about, do a little reflection. What did you think? She said, man, I didn't like that chapter. I said, why not? She said, because she didn't like that she was Black. She wanted to kind of be white. And my daughter's 12. So why does my daughter think this way? Because I've been able to her mother would even argue indoctrinate, but teach her at a very early age to be proud of who she is as a young Black girl, as a person of African descent. I can even recall, we celebrate Black Love Days, not Valentine's Day. And for Black Love Days, 2014, my daughter was 4 years old. Guess what I got her for Black Love Days as her present? I bought her the red, black, and green flag that Marcus Garvey created over 100 years ago. And she literally took that flag and was running around my living room saying, I got the flag Marcus Garvey made. I got the flag Marcus Garvey made. Woo! I mean, literally, so, and actually teaching our children to be unapologetically proud of who they are at a very early age helps because it allows them to not fall victim or susceptible to the negative stereotypes that they see of themselves in the dominant society.
Hey, let's do this. Let's pass it to Kay because Kay's been patiently waiting. Sorry, Kay. Go ahead, Kay. And then we're gonna close out in about 20 minutes. Go ahead, Kay. Kay, you gotta unmute yourself, Kay. You gotta unmute yourself.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, okay, yeah, appreciate you having me on the panel. I don't want to speak on the religious part too much because it just, it starts to get a little hazy. I would say that I agree more with, what Lumumba Speaks is saying. I don't have a problem with anybody's religion, but, when all the separation starts to come in, the way that it's just worked out especially over the major religions, to me, it's comparable to the FBA ADOS thing. It's just further ways of separating this. So I really don't even want to speak on it too much. What I really wanted to speak on was the whole weed thing. And honestly, in my personal story, just to give a little background, I haven't smoked. I used to be a regular smoker. I smoked for over 10 years straight, every day, all day. The minute I came down, I'm getting high again. You know what I'm saying? Now, I haven't smoked now in about a year and a half. So I can speak on it from both sides. I think that the main reason that people smoke as much as they do is it's a tolerance thing. In the very beginning, like Dynast was saying, or somebody else was saying, man, they gave me some weed and I was so high. I was just like, man, what's the point in even doing this? Well, a lot of people smoke so much, so they build up enough tolerance to where they're not, to where they can function, to where they're not, because in a lot of groups, people, oh yeah, man, oh, he was so high, he couldn't handle it. Oh, he's weak, whatever, so people will constantly smoke to where they build up a tolerance, but then it'll get to a point that they smoke so much, their tolerance is so high that they have to smoke a lot just to get high. After a while, it's like almost like, hey, I'm not even getting high anymore. You'll smoke all day and be like, man, I'm not even, that's why they'll claim, oh no, that weed wasn't that good. I need that good. I need that gas. I need that loud, whatever.
Yeah, man, that was Bama weed. Bama weed. That was the Bama weed.
Oh yeah, no, that's regs. That's bushweed. That's what they call that. But and that, especially if you smoked anything, quote unquote good, you can't really smoke regs because they just don't do anything for you. But what I would say on that is, a couple of things. One thing I can say from my experience from being off of it. Now, it wasn't some, come to God type moment where I was just like, oh man, I got to change my life around. I had a incentive, I did it for my job, and I stopped, people still come up to me like, what, a year and a half, dang, how'd you do that, this, that, and the other. And, for the people that say, oh yeah, you can't just go cold turkey. Yes, you can, if you have enough of a reason to, you can, if you just decide, hey, nah, this is more important than that, you absolutely most certainly can, and that's how I did it. What I can say, from, one extreme to the other, is that, there's a big difference, for the people, because I was one of those people that, oh, I function better off of it and I can do it. I did everything on it. I was one of those people that say the same thing. Oh yeah, I'm better on it. It helps calm my nerves. It helps me go to sleep. It helps me eat, this, that, and the third. What I started to notice as I smoked more and more, and as the years went by and I was just a regular smoker, is that all of those things turned into opposite. Where it calmed my nerves and helped me with my anxiety, I felt like I was more anxious when I was on bud. Now I'm more paranoid every time, time I go around. And I mean, there's variances with it, but even when it came to food, back in the day, when you very first start, smoking, you get, what's called the munchies. You're hungry and all the food tastes better. Well, after you've been smoking for a long time, I mean, it kind of wipes your appetite. I mean, you almost kind of lose an appetite. You have to, yeah, and even with sleep, a lot of people, oh yeah, I remember in the very beginning, when I would smoke, a big reason why I, smoked as much as I did was because in the beginning when I smoked, man, I pass out. You know, I smoke a good amount or whatever, or before, before bed or something, when I want to just sleep heavy and, get good sleep, I smoke and I go to sleep. I smoke a little bit or whatever, I'd be ready to pass out. As time went on, as I became more of a regular smoker, I smoke and be up all night, couldn't get to sleep, just wasn't tired. So the thing that I've learned since I've stopped is, I'm much sharper. It's not a thing. I believe in the very beginning when I stopped and was going cold turkey, it was kind of difficult, not in the in the sense of withdrawals, but just in the sense of it's a habit. You build up this habit and it becomes a regular, routine. I think the thing that a lot of people don't want to admit is that's how you feel regularly. When you smoke constantly, you don't know how to feel any other way. So you're worried about how you're going to feel when you're off of it, or more or less when you are off of it, you don't feel like yourself, because what yourself is smoking bud all the time. That's what you're used to, So a lot of people don't ever get outside of it long enough to be able to realize, okay, hey, now that I haven't smoked in, a year and a half, I don't want to smoke. Like it, in the very beginning, it was one of those things where it was like, oh man, I can't smoke. Because like I said, it wasn't hey man, I got to change my life around. I got to get better. I got to stop smoking. No, I had to do it for my job. So I had a reason, I had an incentive each time, but there would definitely be some times where I was like, ah man, damn, I want to smoke. Man, I wish I could smoke right now in the beginning, but after a little bit of time, it was just like, yeah, nah, I'm good. Like, I'm not really tripping. Like I would, and don't get me wrong, I'm not one that's against bud, because on the opposite side of the spectrum, I do think that it should be legal. My biggest thing is, no matter what, I think, as we said in the beginning, moderation is a big thing. If you do anything, and if you do it within moderation, isn't always going to be a bad thing. It's when you turn it into something that you're abusing. And like we've already said, you can abuse any and everything. You can abuse coffee,
but all drugs
abuse
are not
sugar.
the same, though. We got to acknowledge that if you come down off of opiates, you're going to have some major issues physiologically. But coming down off of coffee or weed, you go through a couple of days of grumpiness and whatever it is, and then you're fine.
Right.
Not all drugs.
And that's
all
true.
drugs have their own thing.
And that's true. That's very true. Because just a little background. I mean, shoot, in my college days, I tried a little bit of everything, but the big, like I've never done heroin, meth, crack, nothing crazy like that, but I've experienced with psychedelics, things of that nature. Once again, it's about moderation, and knowing, other certain people have different kind of personalities. Certain people, they do something one time and they're just hooked. They just can't stop. Certain people, they can do something once and be like, all right, like, hey, okay, yeah, I experienced that, I guess, whatever, I'm gonna put that to the side. But what I would say when it comes to weed is, yes, it's not necessarily the same as coffee or this, that, and the other, but it's a part of that has to do with the social negativity that has came with weed from the longest. Because I think a main reason that a lot of people pick it up, like even with me, I never smoked through high school, didn't smoke until I was in old enough to drink. I definitely drank before I ever smoked weed. And it was one of these things, I used to be involved in the church, and then I got away from that for reasons kind of like what Lamuba Speaks was talking about. But I never smoked. Then I realized, because I used to look at it as a bad taboo. Oh no, you can't smoke weed. Oh, you're a loser. You're gonna be a deadbeat. And then I came to the realization that, wait, this isn't something that I'm gonna go smoke weed and go shoot up a store or something like that. Nah, man. For the most part, I'm just gonna chill out and not want to do nothing. I'm just gonna want to eat. Eat a bunch and be lazy. So I think that to close, I think that the taboo that it gets, as much as I don't think that people should smoke as much as they do, people don't realize, people because people don't believe it should be illegal. People think that you should just smoke all day every day, and there's nothing wrong with that, and there are consequences with that. But on the opposite side of the spectrum, I don't think that it should be illegal. I don't think, like, even when we talk about Ricky Williams and people like that losing their jobs over it, I think that is something that was it was put in place so they had an excuse, so they had an excuse to, condemn, and not just black people, but people in general. You know, it's something that you could use against them. In all reality, they make you take drug
But
tests or whatever.
Hold on,
But hold on. Let me interject real quick. But Kay, I think this is the
What's that?
point you're missing. This is the point you're missing, Kay. If Missy Barr comes to me and says, Dynast, I got a job for you. I'm going to pay you $1 million. And you know the rule is you can't smoke weed. I don't care if weed is from the earth, if it's illegal. They should make it legal because alcohol is worse and nothing. It's just the principle. Like, okay, no problem. I ain't gonna smoke it.
Right.
But and
Like,
let
listen,
me respond real
If you
quick.
have an incentive,
Because
if
you
you have
talked
an
about
incentive,
no,
you talked about this issue of you think marijuana being created to like hold people back. So I always ask people the question: when did marijuana in America become criminalized? Does anyone know?
so early, at least
When?
it was
probably
right.
the early 20th century.
It was during slavery, wasn't it?
No, it wasn't doing.
No, during the Chinese, what do you call it?
Like the
No,
It had
it
to
was
do with
during the
heritage.
1930s.
1920s.
Okay, yeah, it was
It was during the
Earlier than that.
1930s. Hold on, and I'm gonna let
real
you know
quick.
where I'm getting my information. I'm citing my information.
But real quick,
from
can I
Dr. Diane
ask a question
Kendall.
though?
Hold on, let me finish. Dr. Diane
Go ahead.
Kendall, her book, Social Problems in a Diverse Society, 8th edition, she documents and talks about how marijuana became criminalized. It became criminalized in the 1930s. Why? Because Mexicans were crossing the Rio Grande, moving to Texas, and competing with white people for jobs. Smoking marijuana was associated culturally with being Mexican. So white people outlawed the behavior that was associated with Mexican culture rather than what just saying it's illegal for Mexican people to be here as a way to what? Give them a competitive advantage when it came to what? Doing, acquiring jobs. We're talking about resources here. However, I agree with Brother Dynast Demir. If someone tells you I'm going to pay you $2 million a year, but you can't wear white shoes, then you just don't, if you take the job, you don't wear white shoes. It's not that difficult. It's not that hard. Some of it is about just being a grown-up. If someone says, Bakari, you can work this job, you sign this contract, you make $2 million a year, but you can't wear a blue t-shirt, then I won't wear a blue t-shirt.
Fear of success and self-destruction.
Listen,
self-sabotaging, Sha, absolutely.
But you got to remember with that, that's, being incentivized. So, and I can understand that because I was incentivized, but without an incentive, what?
Can you speak up, brother? Can you speak up a little bit more?
I said you have to understand that even with that being said, what Dinah said and what you just said, that's what being incentivized. So if somebody incentivizes, I'm sure damn near every single person that talks heavily about it, if they were incentivized to do so, they would do so. But if they don't have any incentive, and once again, that varies from person to person, because certain people will turn down, a good job.
I want to make good grades in school.
Different.
That's incentive, self-incentive. I want to make good grades in school, and stop smoking weed while I'm in high school will help me to make good grades. That's an incentive.
But see, this is the thing though. With some of those things, like for example, when I started smoking, I was in school at that point. I was in college, and once again, that's where there's this mix. Even with I don't know what her name was, Tammy or Jackie, that came on here. Certain people are able to function, and not even just function. Now, maybe they might not be at the tip top. They might not know. Maybe if they were off of it, they would function even higher. But they're able to do what they have to do, and maybe even do what they have to do at a high level while doing it. So there isn't really much. Go ahead.
Will you not say your life should be enough incentive for you not to use drugs, smoke, or
Thank you.
I was just about to say that.
Yes.
I was just about to say that.
Yes.
You're very. Listen to this.
I agree 100%.
I was just about to say that. Yep.
Absolutely. I would say that. But really quick though, with that, because I absolutely agree with that. Your life is, but I don't think when we go.
But there is no but though. You can't put a comma.
Can I say something?
No but is straight up. Take a look at
you're right.
Take a look at what we don't think about.
Well, hold on. Let Missy Barr go. Then we're gonna pass it to Jose because Jose's been waiting.
Take a look at
Go ahead,
some of
Barr.
the things that. This is some of the things that we don't think about, right? That for every action, right, there is a reaction and there is a repercussion. There is an impact. One of the things that in as much as we want to blame this society, and 1000% they are responsible, right? But we have to start thinking about, okay, what do we do? What can we do to move forward, to make sure that the next generation, that when you lay up with your wife, that you are both clean, right? How do you get clean? If you're both high, if you're coming up with your kidney is messed up, your liver is messed up, your brain is messed up, you're going to be having children that's going to have to deal with addiction. I put a name in the chat. There's a doctor by the name of Gabo Mate. I don't know if he's still alive right now, but one of the books that he wrote a book called he talks about the psychological damage of addiction, something like that, right? And the reason why I step away, that I stop using somebody like him as a reference, this is the first time I use his name, but his book is worth reading. If you can read this book, you may be able to get a point where we as Black people need to get away from all these questions, right? Sleeping around with every things that move around is a crush. Drinking, overeating, you name it, is a crush. But even worse, all these things are epigenetic memory that is going to stay into your DNA for the next God knows how many generations. If you think we got problem right now, oh, just wait another 50 years. You understand? So when I use the language that in the face of death, we show extreme discipline. In this, if God is the only thing of spirituality that is going to, if you hugging trees, we get you from doing any of that, we must do. I mean, I'm talking about you name it, you go do it. That is why I promote Dr. Wayne Chandler to get into Qigong exercise, right? We need to clean our DNA. We need to clean our genetics. We need to make sure we leave all these mark, remove it from our DNA so that we can give the next generation an opportunity, a chance. Listen, we are the best people. We know, no doubt. But does it make sense that we're having the most high blood pressure? Does it make sense? Take a look at, when you look at the footballers, those are your best in terms of when you talk about superior strength, but they are the weakest among us because they get corrupt. How you getting corrupt on drug, on a little weed? How do you mess up your money like that?
Mentality.
He's made a good point for me to chime in.
Strong.
Yeah. Hold on. Let Jose go ahead, Jose. Go ahead, Jose.
All right. When I was younger, I grew up in the Netherlands, and that was back in the days. Nowadays, some states in the United States, it's illegal to smoke weed, and some countries have legalized it. But okay, y'all know what the world thinks about the Netherlands, right? People are smoking. People are smoked out in here. But okay, I started quite early. And later on, my surroundings became were students, right? And students, they experiment, and I was scared as shit. So what did I do? I bought a pocket, a manual. I bought a manual. The title. I moved recently, so I'm sorry I cannot show the book. It's in my basement in a box somewhere. But I bought a book which explained everything about every drug out there, right? So there's a lot of misconception about smoking weed, for example. People say, yeah, you forget. You don't forget. Your neurals make different connections. So I even I used to study high, right? I used to study with a joint in my mouth, and I have woken up. Chewed on stuff. How do you call it? Stuff. Not weed, but the other way of smoking it. In here we call it stuff, right? hashish, right? I chewed on hashish in the bus on my way to the exams, because you if you study high, you must make the exams high, right? So it's not really forgetting what you do. You make different connections. But what I advise people, and especially parents, is to also read into the stuff. Buy a manual like that to be prepared, and to not be to not share hearsay with your children, but really prepare them and really know what's happening. Really recognize when they come home from a party, what type of high are they, etc. Just read into it, and don't take it as hearsay. What people do at a festival or at a party, like, oh yeah, when I get high, I get the munchies, and no, take it serious. I did it because I was scared of the shit, right? Cocaine, LSD, whatever. So fear is also a good partner, right? If you use your fear it's on yourself, but also if you have children, be cautious. As I said, the sister started to speak about health, right? So sugar thickens your blood, right? And I'm a sweet tooth, right? But I also smoke. So what happened? What is the reason that the main reason that I don't smoke now is that because I had a epileptic attack, and I don't have epilepsy, and later on I had a TIA, right?
Cigarettes.
So you have to be. It's no joke. It's no joke. It's fun, but some people I take it. I genetically am vulnerable for thickened blood. So I have to watch my sweet tooth and smoking at the same time. I chose to stop completely.
You smoke cigarettes or weed?
It's and when you stop, nowadays when a friend comes by and he wants to roll a joint, I send him to the balcony, right? But I take one hit and I'm just as blown out. I'm just as high as when I used to smoke $50. Let me translate it to you. Right. When I used to smoke $50 after work between going to sleep. Right. That's when I had the epileptic attack. So it's all fun, but you have to take it serious, just like drinking alcohol. I'm sorry.
Okay. Hey, everyone, we're going to go ahead and close out. Hey, everyone, thank you so much for joining. Once again, please go to searchforuhuru.com and get the documentary. Please support the documentary. Go to searchforuhuru.com. Everyone, I greatly appreciate you for joining. Like, share, subscribe. Until next time, family.
Thanks, Dennis. Thanks.
No problem. Peace.
Right. Peace.